much bigger. I only know one truth. Jedi to end.
Well, what is going on, Mary Sues of the internet? Welcome back to the D-Wizzle podcast. This is episode 29, and we are journeying back into a galaxy far, far away. If you guys are new to my channel, welcome. This is a channel talking about all the things in the world of movies, nerd, geek, and pop culture. Have hours of discussion on different movie franchises. If you guys enjoy what I do and want to be updated on future videos I'll be doing, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel and hit that bell to be notified on future videos I'll be doing. But today, we are continuing talking about all the live-action, theatrically released Star Wars films leading up to Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, coming out this December. We've already talked about all the prequel films. We talked about The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith. We talked about the two anthology films, Solo and Rogue One. We talked about all the films in the original trilogy, A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. And we talked about the first two installments of the sequel trilogy. No, we didn't talk about that because we're getting to the second one. We talked about the first installment of the sequel trilogy, The Force Awakens. If you guys want to check out any of those podcasts, check out my channel. I have a playlist called Star Wars Saga, and you guys can check out the other Star Wars movies we talked about. But today, you're in for a show because we are now going to get into the second installment of the sequel trilogy, Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. Joining with me today, returning back to the podcast, I have Captain Eagle.
Glad to be back.
We have fellow YouTuber Ruby Groovy.
Nice. Hello, Mary Sues of the internet. that's golden. But hello, everybody. I can't wait to talk about this movie. This is going to be fun.
Oh, yeah. And we have Nick Folson.
Oh boy, I'm gonna need a lot of alcohol after this, aren't we?
I think we do. Alright, so, before we get into the festivities, I do want to talk real quick about the final trailer of Rise of Skywalker, since it came out before we did this recording. Just quick thoughts. I don't have too much to say about it because it didn't really show too much, but it looks pretty good. Like I said, it's not too much for me to say personally. It's just the visuals look amazing in my opinion. It looks like it might be the best looking Star Wars film we'll get so far, more than The Last Jedi in my opinion. It looked like so massive. It looked like it's shot in IMAX. It looked so gorgeous. And cool to see Rey, Finn, and Poe together. And we got quick glimpse of Palpatine in the flesh. Well, we didn't actually see his face, but we saw the behind of him, so I was like, okay, interesting. And got a shot of Kylo in the helmet finally. Sorry, I don't have too much to say. It didn't get me any more excited, but it still got me looking forward to seeing the film. So Ruby, what did you think about the final trailer?
Yeah, it kind of more so got me more hooked into thinking, okay, yeah, this is actually gonna happen and whatnot. This is more so gonna be they wanted to emphasize pretty clearly that this was going to be this was going to be the finale of this massive saga that ran for 42 years now. And as for the trailer itself, I wasn't going into this. I wasn't really expecting much anyway, because Star Wars has had a trend over the years where they show trailers that don't really give much away, maybe except for the original trilogy. But, all the other trailers that came out, they never really tell you much. They just get you hooked and wanting to attract you to come see, hey, we're making a Star Wars movie. Come see our movie. And that's kind of what this trailer felt like. So, nonetheless, I'm excited for it. It's going to be interesting to see where the movie goes from here.
Yeah. Any thoughts about the trailer, Dick?
Being honest, it didn't really wow me. I'm already going to see the movie. So this trailer was just, hey, if you're not going to see it, we'll see it now. So that's how I feel about it.
Okay. Any thoughts on the trailer, Cap? No?
For Rise of Skywalker?
Yeah, the final trailer.
I don't understand how the Emperor's in this movie, but...
Okay. And that's literally it. Alright, let's get into The Last Jedi.
Yeah, let's get into what's more important.
Yeah. Right. So, okay. So, if you guys have watched our previous podcast, you guys know I loved The Force Awakens. I thought it was a really good addition to the franchise, and it got me really excited to see what happens next. It did have some issues here and there. I don't think it's on the same level as the original trilogy, but I still think it was more than worthy to be part of the franchise. So, going into this, there was a lot of questions and theories that a lot of people wanted answered in the next movie. Just a lot that JJ left open, like what is Rey's heritage, and what happened to Luke all this time, and how Snoke and Kylo and the First Order came into power. It's a lot of stuff, that we as fans want to know more about. So, going into this, I was really excited to see it. Before Last Jedi came out, we had Rogue One, which I thought was it was okay. I know Ruby doesn't like it at all, but I thought it was an okay
waste.
I know. How did you like Rogue One, Nick?
That's literally my opinion on the movie. Just
Yeah. But yeah, so that was an interesting little anthology film. I know Cap loves Rogue One. But anyway, so leading up to this, we found out that JJ is not directing The Last Jedi. It was Rian Johnson, and I've never really heard of Rian Johnson. I haven't seen any of his movies. Cap has. He made Looper, which I've never seen, and he was kind of worried about Cap was kind of worried about Rian Johnson for what he was telling me, because he said Looper wasn't really that great. So I was like, okay, that does get me worried. But I'm like, I'm sure Disney got Rian for a reason. I'm sure whatever he pitched to Lucasfilm, like that, I think that would good enough to be like, yeah, we definitely want you to do the second one. So like, regardless of what he did with Looper, I'm sure what he's going to do with The Last Jedi, I'm sure it's going to be really good. Like, there has to be a reason why they got him. So so the marketing for this movie got me really hyped, but also had me really worried at the same time. Because like the first trailer, we actually get to hear Luke Skywalker talk, because in The Force Awakens he didn't talk. So little dialogue we got from him, it was a very different portrayal of Luke from what I'm hearing, because like they end the first trailer being like, he says it's time for the Jedi to end, and I remember watching that being like, what? what? Luke? This is Luke? Why is he saying the Jedi needs to end? What's going on right now? But yeah, so the trailer, other than that, the trailer was hinting that, Rey was going to get more training, and Kylo's become more powerful of a dark side user. So it's like pretty much the stuff that I wanted to see in the next movie. It looks like it was going to do that. And then the second trailer is where most people were started to freak out, because they alluded to the fact of Rey possibly joining Kylo Ren with the dark side, and I was freaking out with that, and I was like, why would you show that in the trailer? Why? I want to be surprised. Why would you allude to that? I'm like, that's like a big twist. And like, I just don't know. Like, the marketing, while it got me excited, it just got me really skeptical at the same time. It's just like, are they showing too much? Is this a direction that will feel consistent with the previous films? Like, how am I going to feel about the motivations? Like, I don't know. I was in a whirlwind of emotions. But outside of that, this was one of my most anticipated films of 2017. That's when it came out, 2017?
2017.
Right, yeah, this was one of my most anticipated films, other than Justice League, and we all saw what happened with that. Don't want to get into that. But still, I was really excited about it. So, I remember Nick and Ruby, we saw it opening night, correct?
Pretty much opening weekend.
Yeah, I think so. It was either like Thursday or Friday that we saw it.
Right. So, yeah, I do. Yeah, I remember the first time we saw it, and I was in shock of what I watched. Like, I didn't know how to feel. It was very polarizing the first time I watched this, because of all the stuff that just happened. Where I was like, all this was like one of the biggest misdirections from the marketing. Like, I was just in shock. You remember, guys, like, there was so many emotions and stuff going on. Like, I think I liked it. I think, did I? And then that's when I started to go into a little phase that I'm sure most people know about, called Phantom Menacing. I was trying to get myself to like this film. I was like trying to convince myself that everything in this movie was perfect and had a reason. But then the more I watched it, the more I started to see problems. And then there was a point where I full out hated the film and just didn't like it, any of those decisions that they made. And then I started to watch it again recently, and then I started to be like, okay, I kind of get the stuff that it is trying to do. So I'm sorry if I'm all over the place, because that's pretty much how this movie got me feeling all over the place. So before I say my general thoughts, let me just make this very clear. I'm not a purist. I'm not part of the Phantom Menace. And during this review, I'm going to say stuff that defenders of this movie are not going to like, and I'm going to say stuff that haters of this movie is not going to like. I'm just going to say my personal feelings. It is not affected by anyone else's opinions. It's just how I feel about it. With that being said, I don't think this movie is very good. I think this movie is a mess. I don't know how Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, and Disney looked at this movie and thought this would be something that everyone would enjoy. I mean, I don't. At the same time, there is stuff that Rian Johnson does in this movie that I think is interesting and puts Star Wars in a different direction that, you know, that might in somewhat help expand the lore or whatever. But this movie lacked focus. This movie lacked a complete direction. It wasn't consistent with character motivations. I just don't know. I'm really mixed about this movie. I wanted to love it because I love The Force Awakens so much, but this movie literally felt like a slap in the face to people who liked The Force Awakens. Like, all the theories that we wanted to know from The Force Awakens, that felt like this movie was deliberately telling us, screw you if you were interested in anything from The Force Awakens. And in a way, I feel like this movie is kind of insulting what happened before Disney acquired Star Wars. I feel like it's not being consistent with the lore from the first 6 movies. Like, I don't feel like there was enough care with this film, but at the same time, I don't hate it. I think there's interesting stuff in this movie. I think there's good performances, and I'll get into the special effects and action later. But overall, I'm just really mixed on it. Cap, what did you think about Star Wars: The Last Jedi?
Trash.
And that's it. Damn. Don't want to elaborate at all?
I just think it's just really... it's just stupid. It's just a slap in the face to the franchise. We'll get into specifics, I know, but the movie just made me angry. I'll say that.
Okay. Nick, what did you think about Star Wars: The Last Jedi?
So I think by now everyone has heard I'm not a super big Star Wars fan. This isn't my childhood. It's not that important to me. So when I saw Force Awakens, I made it clear I enjoyed it. I thought it was very good. So I was with everyone. I was like, okay, what's going to be 8? Where are they going to go from here? And when we saw it, I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was a good movie. I was invested in what was happening to the A&B plot. And literally, I think we all had a similar question after the movie. Anyone who didn't like it, anyone who liked it, was 3 words, Dwayne. What was those 3 words I said?
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
What is 9?
What is 9? What is 9?
That's
right. Yeah.
What is episode 9?
What is 9 going to be?
Yeah, I was literally befuddled. Like, what is 9? What are they gonna do? Like this, like, you know.
But I pleasantly enjoyed it. Now, I think everyone can agree that until just to date this video, at this time we're recording, episode 9 has not come out yet. It is not out for general audiences to see. But I think everyone can agree, whether you like it or not, this is the most gorgeous movie of the whole franchise. I think this is the best that Star Wars has ever looked at all in cinema. I think we can all agree to that.
Yeah, I definitely
Preach.
I think so.
Rise of Skywalker probably will say like, "Ha, hold my beer," and trounce this. But I think this is the greatest looking movie of the whole franchise. The battle in Crate, the final battle, I think that is some of the best cinematography and everything in the entire franchise. That was just gorgeous. But those are just my opinions on it.
All right, Ruby, tell us, what are your thoughts on The Last Jedi?
Alright, so... oh boy, where to start? Alright, so you either love this movie, you hate this movie, or you just think it's okay. I am, of course, on the fence that says I love this movie. Whether it was me seeing it for the first time in 2017, or if it was just a couple days ago, which was the last time I saw it, this is probably my personal favorite film to watch in the franchise. They take the saga in a whole new direction while subverting my expectations to the point where I could not believe what was happening. For most people, the expectations being subverted may not have worked for them, and trust me, I can understand where you are coming from at that point. But for me, it's just most of this movie worked super well. It never really gave me such a sour taste every time I left the movie. Now, that being said, I do not think this movie is perfect, nor do I believe this is the best Star Wars movie. Yes, I did feel like that at some point. I did say at one point this was the definitive best Star Wars movie. But even then, I still tend to notice the flaws that occur in this movie. For me, it may not be much, but it just says enough for me to bump it out of the top spot for me. So, long story short, I did say that this was the best of the franchise, but now I kind of think it's not, but I don't think it's horrible. I don't think it's bad.
Okay, so as you see, we have a bunch of differing opinions. One who loves it, one who likes it, one who's on the fence, and one who hates it. So this is going to be very interesting.
I guess it's a Star War right here, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay,
This is essentially like the Star Wars Civil War.
Right. So, okay, let's start with positives, because I mean, I'm sure Evan doesn't really have much to say with this section. I'm sure Seth and Nick has a lot to say. I mean, I actually do have positive with this movie. It's not all doom and gloom on my end. So let's start with positives real quick. So, going piggyback on what Nick said earlier, this movie is visually gorgeous. Like, this is some of the best effects I have seen in a Star Wars film. And of 2017, when it came out, this was one of the best effects I've seen that year, juxtaposing Justice League and the video game cutscenes we got. But but yeah, literally, this movie, I jaw drop sometimes with the effects that's in this movie. I didn't think Rian Johnson was a visual director. Because after I saw Looper and stuff like that, I was like, okay, he doesn't really have like too much of an act for that. But like, it really shocked me how well his direction was with this movie, as far as cinematography and action set pieces and stuff like that. It's all shot really well. And even like he takes the stuff that JJ did in The Force Awakens and makes it even more polished, if I didn't think it was possible. Like, the mixture of practical and CGI is done excellently. The fight scenes, for the most part, is done really well. I'll get to more details later, but like, all visually, I'll say A+. My only nitpick with it is I did feel like there's certain parts where the movie looked kind of muted. Like, in The Force Awakens, for me, I guess what I liked how vibrant it was. The saturation was up a little bit more. This one felt a little bit more muted, but probably that's what he intended to do, since this is the middle dark story. He probably wanted to make that aesthetic, but outside of that, that's just a nitpick. Still, the visuals in this movie are gorgeous. I will say the performances, for the most part, are great. I'll start up front with Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker. We'll get into his character later, but Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker, I believe this is the best performance he's done in the entire saga. We see a different side of him that that helped bring new layers to what Luke, how we portrayed Luke in the previous films. Like, we see him broken, we see him, beaten, and it's like, it was emotionally, it was just like, it just really hit me, like, it's just, in a way, it's like, I don't like it and I love it at the same time. It's like, there's something really like profound about his performance, just seeing, juxtaposing Return of the Jedi, where he got all his stuff together, then going to this, it's like such a transformation. It's like, I definitely gotta give respect to Mark of how much he added to the Luke Skywalker character, regardless of how I feel about the direction they put him in. So Mark Hamill, I think, is excellent. Carrie Fisher, I like a lot more in this movie, even though I wish she had more to do. But like, in the first movie, I felt like she was a little bit awkward in certain places, but in this one I felt like she had more of a presence with even though she had less screen time, I just liked her a little bit more. I still like Rey, Finn and Poe. I think they're pretty good. there is certain things about their characters which I wasn't too fond on, which we'll get into later, but I still really like them and I enjoy watching them on screen. I think they're good additions to the Star Wars canon. BB-8 is really good, even though there's some stuff with him that I'm not loving. I'll get to that later. Snoke actually was awesome in this movie. He had more of a presence in this film. Like, we got to see Andy Serkis work. You know, it's like in the first movie, I thought Snoke was interesting, but you know, he was just in the shadows and didn't really have too much to do. Only had like 2 scenes. But in this movie, we actually felt more of his character and seeing how his dynamic with Kylo Ren and stuff like that. And the motion capture for Snoke, I thought was perfect. Like, I don't know what's gonna take to give Andy Serkis an award. Like, he needs one. Like, I don't know what else he could do at this point. I don't think him being Alfred and Batman, like I don't know what else he could do. He's done everything. So he was great in this movie, and I still love Kylo Ren. He's one of the few characters in this movie that I feel was, for the most part, consistent with what came before. I'll get into details later, but still, I love Kylo Ren as a character. He's one of my favorite characters in the sequel trilogy right now, so I think he's awesome. And I like Rose up until a point. Like, I didn't really have a problem with her for most of the movie. We'll get into the stuff at the end, but like, I thought she was an okay character. And who's the actress? Does anyone know?
Kelly Marie
Tran. Yeah, I do like her. You guys have any positives about any of the characters? Anything that stuck out to you?
Alright, do we want me to go, or do we want anyone else to go? Because I have a lot.
I don't really have a lot, Seth. This is mostly the Seth Ruby Power Hour, so you go on ahead and go, Glen Coco.
Well,
Okay.
Well, for me, it was just basically what Dwayne said. I'm on the same page with that as well. That, the movie looks gorgeous. I'm not going to argue with that, and the performances are solid. Writing, that's another story, but the performances are solid, minus John Boyega. And
Okay, since you're here, I want to before Seth talked about his positive, I want to talk about John Boyega for a second, because like
he's horrible. Oh my gosh.
I completely disagree, and I know Crimson doesn't like
Thank you.
like
I
him
agree
either.
to that. Thank you, Dwayne.
I was going to say, John Boyega is not terrible.
He is not terrible. You are. I don't know what you're smoking.
And
There's a certain individual named DJ in this movie.
He is so mechanical. He's one of those actors where it's like, I'm acting right now. He's not just being a character. It's like, nope, I'm acting. I gotta act. Flustered. I gotta act this, act that. It's just very artificial. I'm an actor.
I can see what
Well, I think the way I see it is that in the case for John Boyega, and I think I could probably say this for like a couple other actors as well, or actresses, like for example Emilia Clarke and I guess in my opinion Brie Larson, it's not their acting that's taking away from the film. It's more so the way that the characters that they're playing are written. So they're kind of wanting to stay with that sort of source material. They're not wanting to like ruin the magic of the writing of those characters. They're just wanting it to do it the way that their characters are written, and that's where John Boyega is kind of in with the situation for him playing Finn.
Right. And like, I do see what you're saying with it. Like in the first movie, like I do feel like there are times where he's a little too silly and a little too over the top, and like, yeah, he's a bit of a coward too, and like there are times where I can see where he's annoying, but I guess for me, I thought that stuff that he does made him charismatic, because there's not really a lot of characters that act the way he does, because most of them want to act all serious and stagnant, other than Han Solo. Like, this is one of the few people in Star Wars that actually felt like a person, that actually spoke like the way we speak. So it's like, I just found him charming. And like he he does care about everyone in the saga. It's like it's a similar thing with C-3PO. Like he does have his annoying moments, but he still feel like he has heart and he cares about what's going on. And then he goes through an arc in The Force Awakens about him from him being a coward to him standing up to the First Order and Kylo Ren. Even though he does get his ass kicked, he was still willing to fight them.
Yeah, I agree with that in Force Awakens. He was good in that movie, but then in this one, it's just like he just goes backwards. And also, I just feel like he's just more annoying in this one.
Yeah, well,
I don't mean to just pick on him, but I don't know, he just sort of irritated me.
I do see what you're saying, and then but I do disagree because Crimson said he was worse than Jar Jar. I completely disagree.
That's
with
ridiculous.
That. That's too much. Like, come on, guys. But okay. Anyway, Steph, go ahead with your problem.
All right, so just to be safe, I'm gonna save Luke for when we talk about him because I know you have a lot to say about him, Dwayne. Mm-hmm. But I'm not really gonna say much about the visuals. I mean, yes, best visually looking Star Wars film in the franchise. I actually think it might be hard for The Rise of Skywalker to top this. I have no doubt that they probably will, since we've probably had a little bit of time in between for Rise of Skywalker to further develop their visuals. And yeah, like you said, Dwayne, this does make it feel like it was shot specifically for IMAX, mm-hmm. which is actually kind of funny to me because I actually felt the same way when I saw The Dark Knight Rises. Like, that's like one of the few films that I could ever say that actually makes it feel like it's better to look at it in IMAX, or like it's the only way to look at it than
because it was shot. Because fun fact, it was shot in IMAX.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But other than just something that we haven't really mentioned yet, this is the best visual way to show how lightsabers look. Like, they look the most natural out of any other visual-looking lightsaber in the franchise. Because any other time we've seen it, they always make it seem like, oh, this is just, like, effects just, like, thrown onto the screen. No, this film actually makes it look like, like, these actually look legit. Like, they look realistic.
Right.
It's just a little point that I wanted to point out. And then something else. I'm sorry, Dwayne. I got to throw a little bit of shade at you for this one, but you probably saw this coming. But the messages that they were trying to send in this movie, I do appreciate where they're coming from, especially on Canto Bight. And speaking of Canto Bight, Dwayne, how long did Canto Bight take? I'm sorry, half an hour?
10 minutes.
10 minutes and 52 seconds is from both sequences of Canto Bight. 10 minutes and 52 seconds.
Alright, I was wrong.
Calm down.
Wait, what?
I owe Ruby $10.
Calm down. But
so we made a bet because I said that the Canto Bight scene it felt like half an hour, and then Ruby was like, it's not half an hour, and I was like, okay, let's bet that when we watch it, we're gonna time it and see how long it is. And then we timed it, and it was only 10 minutes.
What scene is that?
The casino
planet.
Planet.
It was the one where they're on the casino planet, trying to look for the Master Codebreaker.
It feels longer than 10 minutes.
It does. The pacing in that is, it's all over the place. We'll get to that later.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
But again, I don't really have... Everyone probably brought up all my points that I'm probably going to say. Snoke is a badass, and his arc throughout this trilogy is probably, in my opinion, the most intriguing out of any of the other newcomers so far. Kylo Ren coming in second for me. Leia is amazing. Finn and Poe I appreciated in this movie. Poe goes through a really interesting arc through this movie as well. And Hux has more of a personality in this film, which I appreciate because I was not huge about him. And I almost forgot that he was in The Force Awakens.
I did too. Did we even mention him in the first one?
Oh my gosh, that's another one that's just worse. He's worse in this movie. Oh my gosh.
I disagree.
He is a little bitch.
Yeah, I disagree. I fully disagree to that too.
Yeah,
he is a little bitch.
Like I do see where he's coming from. Like there were parts where they made him look like kind of an idiot, but it's like I actually felt like he had more of a personality in this movie. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. But
yes, true.
yeah, at least with this movie, he actually like feels like he's in the movie. Whereas like in The Force Awakens, he's just like a I won't get into that, but but I'll just say the last thing I'll say is the fight between Kylo Ren and Rey against the Praetorian Guards. I'm just gonna say flat out is one of the best fights in the whole saga. It's probably on my top 5 for favorite fights ever.
I don't know. Well, I'll get into that later, but I don't know if I can go there just yet. But it was really good.
And then I have and then everything else is just like my opinions on Luke and whatnot, pretty much. So whenever we get there, it's just I'm ready.
Okay.
I am ready.
Okay. Before we get into the stuff that people want to talk about, I'm trying to think. Is there any other positives that I have?
How about the music?
Oh yeah, the score.
John Williams, no surprise.
Yeah, of course, John Williams is great, but I did really like his score in this movie. Once again, I liked how he mixed Rey's theme and Kylo Ren's theme together in certain scenes. I thought it blended together really well, and I didn't think it would because they're both very different, but it was very nice how he did that. And I actually really like, I think it's Rose's theme. I don't know if it's specifically hers, but I do like her theme a lot too.
Thank you for reminding me about that, by the way. I forgot to mention this as well. The connection between Rey and Kylo throughout the film is probably some of the best character connections in the trilogy so far, but I don't fully believe that they're going to be, like, you know, like a couple, like, you know? Like, I think some of those people that bring up that viewpoint is just like, okay, I think you guys are overthinking this a little too much.
Oh, I'm gonna get into the Reylo stuff later.
I mean, hey,
Reylo for
stuff,
life.
The stuff
shut
worked
up.
for me. The stuff worked for me in the film. It's just when people say that they're going to be a couple or whatnot, I just kind of get like, I just start to lose interest.
I cringe.
Sexual tension.
What sexual tension? Okay, but so yeah, I do agree to an extent, Ruby. Like the way Kylo and Rey's, I guess I'll use chemistry in this movie, actually was pretty good. It was interesting. They're dynamic, but like I said, people taking certain stuff out of proportion, which I'll get into later. But yeah, I do think their dynamic is interesting.
Yeah, that's one of my few positives of this movie, is that I really did like the more fleshed out dynamic of Rey and Kylo. I thought it was interesting. They're sort of back and forth. Is he really all that bad, or is he, just, like a troubled, damaged soul type of thing? I don't know. I thought it was. I liked it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's something I know you're going to disagree with, Cap, but I actually do like some of the humor in this movie.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I do too.
I think this is the funniest.
And you saw it with me. You saw it with me, Dwayne. Like anytime that there was a funny moment, we both like chuckled at least a little bit.
Not all of it, but most of it. Yeah, I think Luke's humor in this movie is the best out of everything else. Like every time he did something funny, I laughed. Like.
Because it just works for the tone of the scene. He's so good in this role. Yeah,
definitely. But yeah, there is some stuff with the humor that I like. So there are people saying that, oh, why is this movie so funny? It feels like an MCU film. No, it didn't feel that bad. And let's not forget, The Force Awakens was actually pretty funny too. I laughed at most of the humor in that too. So I don't have a problem with Star Wars being funny. But yeah, I did like most of that stuff. And is that the extent of my positives? Okay, yeah, alright, I think that's it. I'm sure we'll get into more detail if stuff comes up. But yeah, let's get into stuff that I didn't like. And then this is the point where Ruby's like, actually I think that was amazing.
Excellent.
Actually. I was gonna say the same thing.
Okay. Alright, where do I start with this movie? Alright, well, let's go back to the humor then, since we were just on it. So, while I did like most of the humor, there was some parts where it was a little too much for me. Going back to General Hux, like I said, while he does have more of a personality in this movie, there were times where they were just making him look like a complete buffoon, and I wasn't digging that. Even though he didn't have much of a presence in the, I mean, even though he had less of a character in the first movie, he still had more of a presence, and he was still intimidating, and you took him seriously. But in this movie, it's like literally he's resorted to slapstick in this movie.
Him and Poe at the beginning, that is some MCU bullshit right there. That was so dumb.
Yeah, I mean,
oh my gosh, I was already face palming. I'm like, we're 5 minutes into this fucking movie.
Yeah, no, I didn't. Now, I didn't mind the your mother thing, because like that's something Han Solo would say. But it's like, yeah, just the whole. There was just something really off about the whole.
Are you there?
Can you hear me? I can hear you. I'm like, okay, this is odd, but I'm like, that's okay. That's okay. No, it was a little clunky, but it'll get better. It'll get better when the movie continues. But like, it just keeps happening. Even Snoke is like, when Snoke projects himself on the ship, and then he's just tossing Hux around like a rag doll, and just like looking like a buffoon. I'm like, oh, okay. And then later on in the movie, Kylo pushes him across the room for no reason, and just like, it's just making him look like a sad cartoon character, you know? Like, I'm all for, like, if they took out the goofy slapstick with him, I actually wouldn't have no problems with Hux. But it's like, you can give him more personality without making him look stupid, you know? But let's go. What else? And then there's some stuff with the temple nuns that was unnecessary, like when Rey cuts the rock and it falls into their carriage or whatever. They have that long pause of them just looking like, really? I'm like, what? And then you have stuff like when Luke is milking that alien for the green milk, and then the alien looks back at Rey like, hey, look here, you want some of this? like what kind of what kind of vaudeville humor is this? Is this a Star Wars movie?
I hated that.
Like, what is going on? And then,
Why you just in vaudeville?
And that that amazing epic shot at the end of Force Awakens of her, about to hand the lightsaber to Luke. And you know what Rian Johnson's stupid ass does? Hey, wouldn't it be funny if he just throws it? No, it's not funny. That was insulting and a disgrace. That was not funny at all. That pissed me off. You gotta be fucking kidding me.
I absolutely loved that. It wasn't intended to be funny, but I personally
he was just trying to be
everything from that sequence.
All right, here we go. All right, so this is my problem. All right, god damn it. All right, so Rian Johnson trying to subvert expectations, and this is a perfect example, is he's not trying to pick a good story choice or something that works to serve the story well. He's only doing things like he's self-aware when he's making this movie. Like, what can I do that's going to get a gasp or some sort of reaction out of the audience? So this movie feels very artificial and forced because he's trying to do things just to make people react.
See, and I disagree fully with that. I think that personally, the way that he played off of Luke throwing away the saber is a way of Luke saying, I'm not doing this job here, and I'm here to tell you that you shouldn't go in the same direction that I did and potentially fail like how I did back in the day. This is a like a Easter egg or a hint of me saying, it's time for the Jedi to end. Thus, why he would throw away the lightsaber. He wouldn't give it back to Rey. Like, if I were in Luke's shoes, I wouldn't give it back to Rey, because then Rey would just go around using it again.
No, but the way it was shot, it feels like he's playing it for laughs, and it's goofy, and it just kind of slaps in the face the end of Force Awakens.
See, and I disagree with that. I disagree fully.
Yeah, so
I don't see that at all.
like I see both of your guys' points. I think because like what Kat was saying, I do see that because the way it was edited and the music and stuff made it feel like it was supposed to be a gag, because when there's that soothing music that builds up while he's looking at the lightsaber, then looking at Rey, and then the music just stops. And then he tosses it. That's something from a comedy.
Yeah, it's like a wah, wah, wah moment, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
I disagree to that because I've seen movies have that. It's nothing like that. Trust me. If you want to see bad comedy, watch Halloween 5, because literally there's these
Let's not talk about that.
Yeah, there are these cop characters, and literally every time they come on, there's this and that music plays when they come on screen every time. It's not as bad as that. It's not as bad as that.
Granted, Halloween 5 isn't really that good either.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that part pissed me off. I just didn't like it.
yeah, any Halloween movie after the first movie and the one that came out in 2018 are not good.
I disagree. Halloween 2 and 4 are pretty good.
Oh, you mean
H2O is good.
Wait, you're talking about Halloween 2, the one that Mike Myers isn't even in?
That's Halloween 3.
That was Halloween
Yeah,
2.
that's 3,
That was
I
Season
think.
of the
Halloween
Witch.
2 is when he's in the hospital. Halloween 3 is when that Michael Myers is not in it. And Halloween 3 is not that bad.
Yeah,
I've seen Halloween.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said, what'd you want to say? What'd you want to say, Dwayne?
Halloween Water? Are you fucking kidding me?
Jamie Lee Curtis
Halloween
is back?
Water.
That one's fantastic.
Oh, God.
But wait, back on...
Long story short, I liked Luke throwing away the saber. I just thought it made sense to his character.
No, it didn't make any sense. He should be like, where the fuck did you get this? Because this fell down the shaft in Cloud City.
Yeah,
No,
like...
that was not the train of thought that anybody had after watching Empire. Nobody ever thought of that.
Well,
I'm
that's
sure
what
maybe a few
everybody
people
was
thought of that,
thinking
but
when
there
we
were
saw
less
it in
people
Force
thinking about
Awakens.
that
Where did this come
than
from?
People actually wondering okay,
We still haven't answered
what-
that. Where did they get it?
Yeah, wasn't that a question we wanted to know at the end of The Force Awakens? How did
That was
Maz...
a question we wanted to know at the end of The Force Awakens, yes, and we didn't get that in The Last Jedi, but I'm sure at some point we'll probably get it in The Rise of Skywalker.
And Luke doesn't
potentially,
question it at all. He
since
just
Maz Kanata
tosses
is going
it.
to be
That's
coming back.
bullshit.
Yeah, it is strange that Luke does not question how Rey got his father's lightsaber. Because he couldn't find it after Empire and he created a new one. And, that's... I know, I get that Ruby is saying that, he feels so negative about the Jedi Order that he doesn't want anyone else doing anything with that, so he wouldn't give it back to Rey and toss it. Okay, I can meet you halfway, but at the same time, why would he not question? Why would he not wonder how did this random girl get his father's lightsaber? It's
Because
nothing.
I feel like to Luke, I don't think it would really care to him all that much.
It's his
I know that,
father's-
it's his father's lightsaber, but he, by the time he made his mistake throughout the movie and said, it's time for the Jedi to end, and then he sees the lightsaber, it's not really where did you get this particular lightsaber? It's more of oh, this is a lightsaber? Yeah, don't go down that path.
I guess though, it's why couldn't he just say something? I don't know.
Because it
The
doesn't
point
need
for me
to.
is that Ryan Johnson
Say
is
it.
negatively subverting people's expectations. That was not a good story choice.
But anyway, since we are talking about Luke, let's just get into Luke overall as a character.
Just
So
ripping that Band-Aid off now.
yeah, let's just rip it off now since we're already kind of semi tearing it. So I don't
I'll just say
This-
how they
Are you
wrote
good,
Luke
Buttercup?
is
Are you good,
disgraceful.
Buttercup?
Like this, I don't know. Luke is my favorite Star Wars character. He's one of my favorite characters in film, and there's just something really upsetting about how he's portrayed in this movie. Like, it literally went from 0 to 100. Like, now, I don't personally have a problem with him becoming a grumpy old man or a hermit. Like, I'm fine with that. That's cool. That's something interesting without completely going against his character. But, like, there's just certain decisions that he makes that I feel is against his character. And what really just baffles me, Ruby, is that you don't like Luke in Return of the Jedi, but you're saying that this portrayal of Luke is completely acceptable?
No. I didn't say I didn't like Luke in Return. I made it clear that I appreciated what they went for with Luke in Return of the Jedi. I just thought that it didn't work as well as the Lukes that we got, like, in the other films. I didn't say I didn't like the Luke in Return of the Jedi. I personally thought that he was one of the biggest badasses.
But it's just like,
But making Luke almost a murderer is completely inappropriate and disgraceful to the character in the franchise. That is inexcusable.
yeah, I'm sorry. I can't accept it, even though I know what Ryan was trying to do, but it just feels like I was sucker punched.
He did it the wrong way.
Like, yes, I get you have to make a reason why Kylo is the way he is, and you have to come up with a reason of why Luke wants to be isolated and just stay on the island and die. Like, okay, I get it, but there could have been some other way of doing that without going completely against the development that he did in Return of the Jedi. I'm gonna just bring it up because this is the same Luke Skywalker that found out that his father was the most powerful and deadliest Sith Lord in the galaxy, that murdered children, that invaded planets upon planets upon planets. And even with him knowing that, he still tried to turn to the light because he saw there was good in him. Even when Vader didn't think of it himself, he still tried to save him. So, if this is the same Luke Skywalker, I'm sorry, there is not a thing on this earth that's going to convince me that Luke got so scared of Kylo's potential to the dark side that he would even consider pulling out his goddamn lightsaber and killing him in his sleep.
I disagree.
I disagree too.
Go ahead.
I'll let Nick go first on this one.
Well,
because
this is just from my perspective.
Oh, also, hold on. Before you go into that, let's also keep in mind this is not only his nephew, but his sister's son, his best friend's son, and you want to resort to that? Okay, go ahead.
But this is just my perspective. We all, like, it's kind of like our parents. We hear stories about our parents. We all know what our parents do. And, like, they're human. They're going to make mistakes. And with this moment, Luke had an impulse. He had an impulse of, there's some darkness in here. Pretty much a relative of mine is going down the path of darkness. I don't want to do that shit again. And he impulsive, like, without hesitation and instinct, tried to attack Ben. But then you can see he regrets it. He fully regrets, like, yes, I fucked up. And I regret that. I don't want to deal with that. And he ran away. That's just what I got from that when I saw it.
Go ahead, Ruby.
So the way I saw it is, I'm gonna refer back to Return of the Jedi a little bit. Is when I'm actually gonna compare the two scenes when Vader made Luke angry at the end of their fight, and Luke used his aggression and anger to disarm Vader. I don't want to say kill Vader because that's not really the correct terminology, but like he essentially won his battle against Vader with anger. So when I saw him, even when he turned against the Emperor at the end of that fight, when he deactivated the lightsaber and threw it at the Emperor and said, I'll never turn to the dark side or something like that, I still am looking at it like, okay, then why did you strike down Vader through anger? Why didn't you, control yourself? Because, you're not, I know you're not fully trained and all, but I'm sure you should have gotten the message by now that, going down the path of darkness and anger is not really the way to go. And, when he stroked down Vader, he wanted to protect Leia at that certain moment, because that's the thing that he got angry over, is that Vader was going to potentially turn Leia to the dark side, and that's what activated Luke. But then when he stroked down Vader and then came back to his senses, he really forgot that, he was really trying to bring back Vader to the light. It wasn't just about, trying to protect his sister from going to the dark. It was trying to bring Vader back to the light. But he can't really do that now if he disarmed him, if he won his battle through anger. That's not really the way to go. And it's exactly carried over to The Last Jedi here, where he looked inside he looked inside Ben Solo's mind and saw that there was darkness and a swarm of evil, taking over and defeating his Jedi temple, which is what he worked for so many years, trying to build this new Jedi religion for his nephew. But by the time he saw that vision of, darkness trying to, cloud his judgment and, wanting to defeat his temple and whatnot, that's what he saw. But by the time he activated that lightsaber, he ended up not seeing the darkness. He saw Ben Solo, which is where he immediately thought, what am I doing at this point? Why am I, devoting myself into something that I know I'm going to mess up for again? And that's why he closed himself off from the Force. And that's why he's acted the way he is in The Last Jedi.
Okay, I do see what you're saying, but my whole thing is that he didn't even try to talk to Ben. He didn't even try to talk to him.
Again, he wasn't fully trained even at the time. So even when he defeated Vader, he still wasn't even fully trained.
Well, that's the point, though. It's like, if it was, because you can have the Luke I know would have at least tried to talk some sense into him. Even if it doesn't work, Luke would at least try to talk some sense into him, because that's what he did in the previous films. That's what Obi-Wan tried to do with Anakin, even though that didn't work. He would at least try to be diplomatic. That's what I'm talking about. Diplomatic. Luke was not diplomatic in this movie. You can make him grumpy and impulsive all you want, but where is the diplomacy of him? He should have thought about 10 other things before he pulled out his lightsaber. That's just my issue with it. It's just something felt really icky about it. I understand what Ryan was trying to portray in that scene, and in a way, I do see it, because the Skywalker lineage does have darkness in it, so it would cause them to do some impulses, because that's what Anakin does, and that's what Leia has done. So it's not completely out there of impossibility, but it's the whole thing of, we were led to believe that Luke was above those mistakes. When he said to the Emperor that I will not turn to the dark side and I'm a Jedi, that should have been the case of Luke will not make the same mistakes that the Jedi Order did and what his father did. Which is going to one of my favorite scenes in this movie, was when Luke was talking to Rey about the Jedi Order and how they were so blind and ignorant that the Emperor was taking over the Republic and they didn't even know. Mm-hmm. And then that caused the fall of the Jedi and the Empire being risen. And then him putting this all together, being like, he didn't feel like he was good enough to teach Ben, or he wasn't wise enough because technically he didn't complete his training when he fought Vader. So in a way, he doesn't feel like he's up to the task. So that was so profound to me because that I liked how all that was brought together with not only with the original trilogy but also with the prequels. So I do feel like Ryan does have somewhat of an idea of the Star Wars lore, but going back, I felt like there needed to be more care with Luke. You know, especially if this is his last movie of him being alive, like there needs to be more care with it.
Yeah, that's just, it was way too rash of a decision to have Luke just pull out a lightsaber. He wouldn't have done that, like we said. It's just a betrayal of his character. He would have tried, you know, like he did in Return of the Jedi. He would have stood up and tried to find a different way. So it's not consistent.
But, you know, outside of that's literally my only issue with it. Like, I don't have a problem with, you know, his characterization. I like that he's a grumpy old man. I like there's another depth with his character, and I like the interactions that he has with Rey. Like I said, his comedic stuff was the funniest part of the movie. I like when he is giving him his first instruction and he tells her to reach out, and she literally does, and then Luke takes a little plant and tickles her hand. It's like, you feel it? That's the Force. Oh, that's really strong.
That is the funniest part in the whole movie to me.
That was stupid. That was some MCU bullshit too.
No, that actually felt
okay,
fine.
stop it, Evan.
That was fine.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Still left that. Now, yeah, there might have been like that probably would have. It feels like a Mark Hamill-ism in there, but it's like this is a grumpy Luke, so I'm like, okay, that's not completely out the realm of what he would do, you know? Because remember, Yoda's silly too in the original trilogy, so it's like, why not have a silly grumpy Luke? So that's fine. Okay, let's talk about Leia.
She should be dead. Yes,
I know the Carrie Fisher lovers are going to hate me, and like I love Carrie Fisher so much. She has been a big part of my childhood. She's one of my favorite female characters in film, but I seriously think she needed to die because she didn't have much to do in this movie either. Even though I liked her more in this than in The Force Awakens, it still felt like there wasn't as much for him to do. And they literally wrote her out in the middle part of the movie, like she's in a coma for most of the film, and then she comes back towards the end. So I'm like, part of me wishes that she was the one that died, and then Luke was the one to stay alive and be in Rise of Skywalker.
Absolutely, I am 100% in that group. When she got blown out of the ship, that should have been it. She is dead. When you get blown into space without any sort of life preserve, you are dead. Do not tell me that all of a sudden she can use the Force and float back to the ship. One, because that's not scientifically possible, and two, that's not how the fucking Force works.
Okay, before we get into Leia Poppins, let me talk about real quick. Like, another reason why I did want her to die in that moment, even though it was abrupt, like, I think that would also help with the characterization of Kylo Ren, of him going more to the dark side, you know, with him quote unquote completing his training, which we don't see at all in the movie. I don't know why, but it's like with him killing his dad in the first movie and then him killing his mother in this one, that would slowly put him more and more into the darkness and him more powerful. So I think that also would have added to the arc of Kylo. But anyway, yeah, let's talk about Leia in space.
Has to be one of the most ridiculous
I'll give you this.
sequences.
I appreciated what they were
saga.
trying to go for in the sequence, but at the same time, the execution for me just wasn't really there.
It is the worst sequence of the entire saga.
I disagree.
Yeah, I don't. No, that's not the worst one in the entire saga.
I don't think it. That being said, I don't think it's a great sequence. Like, again, I appreciated what they were trying to demonstrate with that scene. I just don't think it particularly worked.
Yeah. Now, I'm all for Leia showing off some Force abilities because I actually wanted her to do that throughout the entire saga. I've been waiting for her to show something other than sensing stuff. So I'm actually glad she was able to utilize her Force powers in this movie. But at the same time, this is where, I talked about this in The Force Awakens. This is the point where Disney Star Wars shattered the physics of Star Wars. Now, Cap, you know that this is not anywhere near realistic when it comes to physics. This is a fantasy film. This is what separates this from Star Trek, because they're more realistic with their physics. Even though,
I understand it's not like extremely sciencey, but there's still the basic rules of how space works.
Yes.
And they just completely broke it.
Exactly. Like in the previous movies, they establish that if you get sucked into space, you're dead. You're gone. But in this movie, somehow, she's not only able to breathe in space and doesn't freeze to death, but she's able to pull. I know she's not flying. I know everyone's saying that she's flying, looks like Superman, but I know she's not flying. She's pulling herself back to the ship. But even then, there is no way she's able to do that without suffocating or freezing to death. You can't play with the physics in a Star Wars. If you just go all over the place with the physics, no one is going to feel any weight or stakes of life and death. That is the one thing that Star Wars kept consistent throughout the films. Even though the physics with space is not completely realistic, what they still stuck with is how people live and how people die, what people need to survive, and what they don't need to survive. And so when I saw that, I'm like, this is a cartoon. This is a cartoon. There's no way. And it's like, if you wanted to show her being able to survive in space, like with the Force, he didn't visually show that enough. Like, if you're telling me like there's little particles of force fields around her that's keeping her from being suffocated in space, show that. But he didn't. He didn't. He just opens her eyes and just pulls himself back to the ship. Like, come on. And this is not the only time they shatter physics in this movie. We'll talk about the other stuff later, but that was ridiculous.
How'd they even let her back in the ship if we're even going to believe this bullshit in the first place? Because there's the shot of her at the door of the ship, and who's standing there? Is it Poe or something?
Yeah.
But there's no airlock chamber.
No.
So as soon as they open that,
they don't get sucked out in space either.
They all get sucked out, but that doesn't happen, does it?
No.
You have to follow the basic rules of how space works, and they just broke multiple rules.
And then on top of that, even when she pulls herself back into the ship, nobody acknowledges it. Nobody talks about it. They pretend like it's just, it's a regular thing. Now, it may be a regular thing for the Resistance. They may have seen that before between 6 and 7, but we as moviegoers have never seen that. So you have to establish what is going on. Like, they don't talk about it. They're not shocked that she's able to do that. Like, nothing. And like, then we as the audience members going, well, when were you able to do this? Why didn't the other people in the previous movies do this? Like, what's going on? That's what I'm saying. Don't break the physics.
It is the absolute worst Deus Ex Machina I have ever seen.
Oh, gosh. And we didn't even talk about Rey yet. Well, anyway, Nick and Ruby, your thoughts on Leia Poppins, other than any other thing?
I already have my thoughts out of the way. I'm going to let Nick take over for this one.
Being honest, I don't have a lot to say.
Okay. So like I said, it is a good idea on paper, but
the execution wasn't there.
It wasn't there. Okay.
But I don't think it was the worst sequence in the whole movie. I'll get to my worst sequence later.
Yeah, I don't think this is the worst. I don't think this is the worst one, but we'll get to that later.
It's probably the most frustrating.
It is frustrating, though. It definitely. Okay, speaking of Han and Luke, let's talk about Han. Let's talk about where's the morning for Han? Where is it?
Yeah.
There's not really time. I mean, remember, this takes place straight after Part 7, so they don't really have time to mourn. There probably will be something in The Rise of Skywalker, since that's supposed to take place after.
In the script.
Yeah, in a 2.5 hour film, you couldn't have 2 minutes of somebody mourning. Actually, I would talk about, because we talked about this, Ruby. They had a deleted scene of Luke mourning for Han.
They had a deleted scene of Luke going back into his hut and then sitting down mourning over the loss of Han Solo, which I do agree they should have added. They should have worked on that, like the editing for that scene, a little bit more, and they should have tried to find a way to add that in the final cut.
Is that on the Blu-ray?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
it's on the Blu-ray.
Why the hell would they cut that? I didn't know that was a scene.
Yeah.
But at least look at it this way. At least for now, it's a deleted scene rather than just not adding it in at all.
Yeah, unlike Justice League, Suicide Squad.
I'm sorry, what Snyder Cut?
There is a Snyder Cut. It exists. Shut up, Nick. Shut up, Nick.
I don't see it.
Never happening.
Where is it? Where's the D-Wiz? Where is it?
Ask Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
They're
It's
holding
never
it hostage.
happening. It's never coming out.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
You know what? Y'all can suck it. Anyway, this is a Star Wars podcast. Anyway. But yeah, so I don't know why Ryan cut that out. Like, that's Lily. It's Lily, a very important character moment. They lost him in the first movie. Come on. But anyway, so that's all I had to say about that.
I'm sorry to interject, but I think Ryan they had Luke go into the Falcon and take off the pair of gold dice, and then look at that for a little bit, and then sit down in one of the booths or whatnot of the Falcon, and then kind of think about the loss of Han Solo then. But even then, I don't think that even worked as well.
The Dice brought to you by Solo, a Star Wars story.
Yeah, that came out like 5 months after The Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I do see that. And R2 only in one scene again, and then gone. Lily there to show some shit and leave. Like, what?
Was he really only in one? I thought he was shown in more than that. He was definitely shown more than The Force Awakens, I understand. But
was he though? Was he though?
I think he was. I think he was in a few. I think it was in a few shots on Crate.
Great.
Like in the Falcon.
Great.
But even that, I probably can't remember anything else.
Yeah, like.
No. But with the time that we got with R2, like, it was still like a pivotal moment for R2 to get reunited with Luke. Like, we can't like take away the fact that was a gorgeous sequence.
No,
and we all like almost bawled our eyes together when we saw Luke and R2 meeting each other on screen again after so many years.
Oh yeah, that was one of the few moments where, like, original trilogy Luke just came out, like, for a second when they both met together. I was like, oh, that was great.
Yeah,
that was great.
And then, especially to cap it all off, R2 shows the message of Leia again.
Oh
It's not a way of showing off fan base. It's just a way to drive the story along to get Luke to do what he should be doing.
Right.
Oh yeah, that was funny when R2 showing him the message, and then what does Luke say? Like, that was a
cheap move.
Yeah, that cheap move. that was great.
Yeah, that was great. So yeah, that was actually good. All right, let's talk about Rey. I really liked her in the first movie, but as Ruby said in the previous podcast, she was too smart to be in that movie.
She was way too smart to be in The Force Awakens.
Yeah. And so I was hoping in this movie they would explain more why she's so powerful and why she's so smart. But no, not really. Not only is she too smart to be in this one too, but she's way too powerful to be in this movie. I'm sorry. As much as I want to defend Rey and Daisy Ridley, like, she's become a Mary Sue. I can't fight it anymore. She's a Mary Sue. I did not feel any in fear for her character because she was on top of almost everything in this movie, and it was very frustrating. Like, there are things she does in this movie that she should not be able to do, and they still barely scratch the surface of her development, which we'll talk about her parents' stuff later. But it was just so frustrating how, you know, all the other characters are, you know, barely getting by, you know, like getting hurt and going, you know, messing up, and then here's perfect Rey doing everything. I'm sorry, I can't get with this. Like, she had so much potential too, because she had a lot of personality and stuff like that in the first movie. Like, she had the potential to be on the same level as Leia or even Padme, but Padme had better development than Rey. Like, I don't know. I'm just really frustrated. I thought they would fix it, but they don't. They're making her too perfect. Now the
way I see it, I don't disagree with you on any standard. Like, I do think that Rey is a little bit too smart to be in this trilogy so far, but I think it really just boils down to how she's portrayed in The Rise of Skywalker. If they ever like expose any weakness that she has.
Like, I hope so. Like, if you're not gonna show like any, you know, if you're not gonna show any backstory yet, you still want to save some stuff, whatever. But here's another thing that, you know, some certain people aren't going to like me to say. She needed to get her ass kicked in this movie, at the very least. She needed to get her ass kicked. But
I mean, she did. I mean, she did to an extent, like a little bit against Snoke.
oh, yeah, I guess.
Like, that kind of works, but it doesn't really like show like Rey has like a weakness or anything.
Yeah, and she got one scratch from the Bretonnian guards fight.
Well, she got a scratch, she got a kick, and I'm pretty sure other things too. But
She got a boo boo.
yeah, she needs a Band-Aid.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know if I wanted to resort to this, but like, she probably need to like lose a limb or something. Like, I don't know, man. Like, the only reason why she's not as bad as Captain Marvel is that she actually is likable and she has a personality. But like, literally, if she didn't have that, she would literally be another Captain Marvel. Like, I don't know. I don't have any problems with Daisy Ridley herself. I really like Daisy Ridley as an actress. But it's just, we just needed some answers. Some. Now, I like the little bit of, you know, teasing her to do when she goes into the cave, that she somehow knows where it is, but Luke doesn't know where it is. Okay. But the little...
Well, she was the one that probably saw it, like, in a vision that she had. Which, yeah, I do understand, like, how did Luke not see it before, but it's just, like, Rey probably saw it, like, in her mind, like, when she was, like, being corrupted at some point.
And then she's like, I've seen, like, when she goes into the place where the Jedi texts are, she's like, I've seen this place before. What do you mean you've seen this place before?
Yeah, bullshit.
Like, what? No, you didn't.
Utter BS.
Like, come on now. And, one other thing that I know not a lot of people probably would notice, but like, her delivery was kind of off in this movie. Like, in the first movie, she was like really spunky, and like her performance was like, oh my god, you're Luke Skywalker. What are we gonna do? What this? And then here's her delivery in this. Luke, we need to go with the Resistance, and we need to help them. We're your only hope. Blah blah blah. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, she is a bit flat in this movie.
Like, this
Well,
is...
it's just like I said to you, Dwayne, like a couple days ago. I think it's more of like, you know, in the first movie, it was like Rey was like fangirling over the fact that, you know, oh my god, Luke Skywalker exists. But like, after spending more time with Luke and how he actually is as a person in The Last Jedi, she kind of has a reason to kind of react the way that she does.
I guess, but it's like, then she stays... Well, she doesn't stay stoic the entire time, but she becomes more stoic even when she's not talking to Luke. I don't know. It's like some stuff that was treading prequel delivery. Not completely, but it was treading it in certain moments. And then it's not only with her. We'll get to other stuff later. But, yeah, Rey, I just wanted more. Finn, I wanted more too. We already talked a little bit about it. That, you know, Finn was underutilized and felt like he was going backwards on his character a little bit. And the stuff that he was doing with Rose, I didn't care about. Like, I know what they're trying to do is important. Like, they're trying to... Okay, yeah, let's talk about this stupid plot line of, oh, they can track them through light speed and they're just waiting for their ship to run out of fuel. What? Really? This is the conflict? They're just blasting at their ship until they run out of fuel?
Yeah, this has to be the most retarded, like, main plot of Star Wars movie ever. Oh, we ran out of gas!
Now...
Are you serious?
Now, we have seen this before. Now, I'm not saying this hasn't happened, because I know Rudy's about to say, we've seen this before. Yes, I know. But it still was lazy. That whole plot line was lazy. They couldn't think of anything else. Like, they're just waiting for them to run out of gas. That's really what it is.
And then we haven't even gotten into Laura Dern's character yet, how she's just being ambiguous on purpose in order to build tension. There's no real reason for her to keep her intentions from anyone.
That purple-haired cunt, I swear to fucking God. General Hutt. I mean, hold on, that's what, yeah. I fucking hated her. I hated her. And, who's the actress name?
Laura Dern.
Laura Dern. I actually love that actress. I loved her so much.
Great.
She's in the Jurassic Park movies, and I loved her in that. So I don't have any problems with that actress. But her character was written so retarded. I can't do it. She is so bad. I can't do this, man. Like, yeah, as Cap said, she's literally holding information from people for no reason. And I'm sure, like they wanted to make, going back to Poe's arc of like trying to learn the stuff about leadership and not being impulsive. Sure, you can have that, but there is no reason why Holdo would be holding that information from him, let alone everyone else, since this is their last resort to surviving this stupid plot line of them shooting at them until they run out of gas. Why would you not tell anyone what you're doing?
There were just a lot of pointless characters in this movie while we're at it, because she was pretty pointless. It's literally just like a placeholder for Leia, and it's just unnecessary conflict. Let's see, Phasma's wasted like a bitch.
We'll get to her in a minute.
Yeah, let's see who else. Benicio del Toro, just completely pointless and stupid.
He's literally the worst character in the movie.
Worst.
That I agree with.
Rose just cock-blocking Rey.
I mean, but yeah, which we'll get into the Raylo stuff in a minute. But yeah, it's like you just have a bunch of these unnecessary characters just filling in for more important characters. Like they're
and we already said earlier that the whole sequence with the casino is only 10 minutes long. The reason why it feels so much longer is because that entire sequence is completely unnecessary. That whole part of the movie could be cut because there's this whole subplot about getting this code breaker so that they can get in there in order to change the codes, but then that never even pans out because they never even get the code breaker. They get this other guy who ends up just betraying them and not even really helping them, and then they just get on a ship to, on their whatever ship it is to escape, so they never even end up doing that whole code thing. So why is this all written that way?
Yeah, it's like
why does this whole elaborate plan even exist in the plot if it's not even relevant in the grand scheme of things?
I knew Benicio del Toro's character was going to betray them from a mile
he was
away.
Shady as hell.
From a mile away, from his first 5 seconds. I'm like, yeah, you're going to betray them. And of course he does. Whoop-de-doo. Now, I actually thought they were going to, if there was any moment to subvert my expectations, it should have been when Benicio took the little necklace that Rose has and gives it back to her. I'm like, oh, you know what? maybe he won't turn on them. But no, he just does the typical cliche bullcrap of, oh, you can't trust a bounty hunter, or blah, 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 blah. I'm like, he adds nothing to the movie. Nothing. And I actually like Benicio del Toro. I think he'll be interesting in a Star Wars film. When I heard he was in the movie, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see what he does. But Lily, this is what you've written for him? You've got to be kidding me. And then that stupid ass stutter that he has. I can help you. I'm like,
Good guys, bad guys.
his dialogue didn't even make sense half the time. I'm like, what are you talking about?
See, I don't like his... Oh my god, I can hear myself.
Uh-oh.
I don't like his character overall in the movie, but no matter who he plays, I'm pretty sure we can all agree that no matter who he plays and how bad the characters are, no matter what the dialogue is, he delivers it with such professionalism, and it's just so... Like, it just gets under your skin in just all the right ways, I feel like. Like, with his stubbornness, I think that's just Benicio del Toro just, like, showing off, like, you know, like, he's a really good actor, which he is.
He is.
And, actually, a fun fact, Benicio del Toro was actually, talked in consideration for doing Darth Maul for The Phantom Menace back in the day, but then turned down the role.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even know that.
So Benicio del Toro, like, imagine him as Darth Maul, and how his lines would have been delivered then, if he had lines.
Yeah, right. I mean, he did have that one line at last we'll reveal ourselves to the Jedi, at last we'll have revenge.
Yeah, he does have that. And also, I wanted to bring up Cancel Bite a little bit. Yeah, the sequence was a little bit off for the plot. I think that was just mainly put in there to, like, send a message to, like give a hint on what people are like in this sequel trilogy. But what they should have done is, instead of finding a reason to get Benicio del Toro in your film, do Maz Kanata.
Yes! Bring her
do
back!
Maz Kanata, because she was in there for exactly 1 whole minute.
Yeah. I don't know why they didn't bring her back. I think I would have liked the Canto Bite scene a lot more if she was with Rose and Finn.
You know, the whole point of that sequence was just for them to have a foil to Mos Eisley spaceport. It was just supposed to be like, oh, that was the poor man's, you know, bar, and now this is the rich man's casino.
Yeah, I definitely see that. Though, with Maz, real quick, I think the reason why she wasn't in this movie, she probably was filming Black Panther around that time, so she couldn't be in it a whole lot. But even then, she doesn't need to be in the whole movie. She could have had like a couple scenes with Rose and Finn, and, you know, doing stuff, and then she could be gone. Like, I don't know why they're gonna do it, but yeah, Canto Bite.
Yeah, she would have dropped in, like, in the middle, like, literally, like, dead center in the middle of the movie.
Yeah.
And then just took up, like, and just be in it for, like, the rest of the half of the movie. That's just, like, a half of the film that you're shooting for.
Right.
And then you could just go back to Black Panther that comes out just, like, a couple months afterwards.
Yeah, like, literally 10 minutes. Couldn't spare 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But,
Well, not even 10 minutes. Well, maybe longer than 10 minutes, but still.
Yeah, anyway. Yeah. But yeah, that Canto Bite scene...
I understand it, but it would have been better if they did like something else with it.
Yeah, like, Nick, I don't know how you didn't like the Raftars in The Force Awakens, but this Canto Bite scene is good to you. Like, what are you...
Oh, no, I never said that. Don't you dare put words in my mouth, boy. I said I did not like it. I'm with you.
Oh, okay.
That was pure filler.
Yeah, like, you have these dog horse things, like, having a chase for no reason, and you have these weird aliens in tuxedos in a casino, and then one of them's trying to put coins in BB-8. I'm like, is this Star Wars or The Fifth Element? What is this? Like, this is the biggest load of filler I have seen since the prequels. Like, this
actually
really felt like...
Another fun fact, I'm sorry for interrupting you,
yeah, go ahead.
but another fun fact is that the alien that was putting coins in BB-8 on Canto Bight was played by Mark Hamill.
Yeah, he motion captured that little alien, which I didn't even know. Like, that's interesting.
And also, I'm going to be a little bit honest. I may be a little bit, biased for Canto Bight a little bit because I'm a bit of a sucker for race scenes and chase scenes. So I'm probably just going to say, like, the chase scene in Canto Bight I don't know. I found some enjoyment out of it. I felt like.
I guess, like, if you do like that childlike wonder from the Star Wars movies, because this is probably something like the pod race, or
I was going to say, pod race is different. Pod race was actually like a well-deserved sequence that never should have been removed from the film. It's by far one of the best sequences in the entire saga that no one talks about.
Yeah. But it's like, yeah, just talk about that stuff that appeals to younger audiences, like the Ewoks and stuff like that. Like, that's what it really felt like to me.
Which is not a bad thing.
Yeah, and I'm not saying like the entire sequence itself. Like, I mean, it was interesting the first 5 minutes, and then it got really old quick. And then they want to put in this whole thing of these slave kids over there. Like, why don't they free the kids? Like, instead of freeing these stupid horse dogs, why don't you free the kids? Like, why couldn't they go with Rose and Finn? Like, if you want to put this whole thing of, oh, these little kids being oppressed and, like, the rich is, like, taking from them and selling to the First Order, blah, 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 then take the kids with you. But no.
Well, then again, I feel like, this is just my assumption, I feel like if they did that, they'd be kind of going back to the Phantom Menace a little bit with taking a younger Anakin to a ginormous battle sequence where Anakin could have potentially be killed. I think that would have kind of been like a nod off to that if they ever rescued the kids. Like, they don't want to put the kids even more in danger than they kind of already are.
I guess.
I don't know. That's just my assumption. That's just my massive assumption.
I guess so.
And it could or could not be true.
Maybe.
Ryan Johnson know better than me.
Right. Okay, well, I think I prolonged it long enough. Let's talk about Reylo.
I think the only reason why people are starting to disagree with it is because of the fan base.
Yeah, the fan base for this ship pisses me off. Now, I had no problem with Rey and Kylo's connection in this movie. Like, I mean, other than the big plot hole with their minds melding, which I'll get to in a minute. But I didn't have any problem with their chemistry. I thought they worked off each other pretty well. But there is this toxic fan base that came out of nowhere and started shipping Rey and Kylo as a couple.
And Crimson is a part of that fan base. She's written fan fiction about it.
I wish Crimson was here. And I'm just gonna.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
It does not make sense, and I'm sorry if I'm going to insult any of the Reylo fan base, but like, I seriously do not understand why you are shipping these two. Is it the? I'm gonna. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna get personal. You know what? If you want to go retarded, I'm gonna go retarded too. Is it because they're both white and good looking?
What? What was that? What the hell was that? Jesus!
This stuff. You do not
Or
understand.
maybe people are sadistic and just want to see this guy just
Abuse her? What is this? Is this Joker and Harley Quinn from Suicide Squad? What the fuck is this? There is no love chemistry between them at all. There is no chemistry with them at all. Like, Lily, the movie gives you a freaking breadcrumb of natural human interaction between Kylo and Rey. And then these freaking fangirls just take it and just go with it. They take anything that they do to interact with each other and be like, you know what? Yeah, that confirms it. They're together. Oh my god. How about let's go back to The Force Awakens. Let's analyze their chemistry in The Force Awakens. Let's see. Okay, Kylo threatens her life more than once in the movie, freaking points a lightsaber towards her face, freaking tries to manipulate her mind. Oh, I definitely love that chemistry. I could feel the sexual tension between
these
that.
sadists.
Like, what is this? Kylo definitely got hot when Rey freaking beat her to death and left her for dead while Starkiller Base was about to be exploited. Oh, I love that chemistry
she was
there.
getting turned on when he had his shirt off, and she was like, "Can you at least put a shirt on?" She didn't want to get too turned on.
Oh yeah, all the Raylo fangirls got their pussies wet there. Oh yeah, all that shirtless, lovely goodness. Oh, and all
there goes our only female representation in the audience, ladies and gentlemen.
It's like,
there goes our female representation. It's going, and it is gone.
See, I'm on the fence because I'm not completely against it happening, but they would have to give it a lot more development.
like there's nothing. Like, oh, they touched fingertips in this movie. Like, oh yes, they're confirmed.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna defend it a little bit.
Into each other's eyes.
I think where people are getting it from is, Rey is just like pretty much the definition of good in this new trilogy. She's trying to be the one to do the right thing. She's like, the good spirit, and then he's like the damaged dark spirit. And she's trying to get him to be good, maybe she can save him, sort of like what Luke was doing in Return of the Jedi. She's trying to do for Ben in Last Jedi, so I think people are attaching to that, and I also do think that their fight sequence, of like the guards, in whatever it is, Snoke's chamber, I think that was really cool. So I think a lot of people thought that they worked well together and stuff, and I love that sequence. So I kind of see where people are coming from, but there's definitely not enough. There's not enough for it to be legit.
And again, we still have the Rise of Skywalker for them to like fully develop their chemistry, as I would say.
If they're going to, because there are shots
until then,
in the
if
new trailer.
Nothing happens, then we're ultimately just gonna be like, okay, what are you fans thinking of?
I don't know. There's shots in the new trailer of them together, so there might be some more.
Yeah, there might be something there, but again, we can't like assume anything, because look what happened going into The Last Jedi.
Are we gonna talk
Everybody
about Snoke?
assumed that everyone hated
I'll get into that. But yeah, like, I have no problems with Rey trying to turn him back. Like, that's fine. I'm completely okay with that. Now, I don't know how to feel about Kylo being redeemed, because at this point I don't think he should be redeemed, but like I said, we'll see how it's executed in The Rise of Skywalker. But I'm okay with Rey trying to bring him back to life. But is there anything that teases that they have romantic feelings towards each other? No. Kylo does not feel anything for Rey except for the fact that he wants to use her and manipulate her for her power. There is nothing there to be like, I have feelings for you, and just because Rey is like, I can turn you back to good, does not mean that she has romantic feelings for him. This, I don't know why people don't see this. This is a toxic relationship. If I haven't seen it, oh god, this is a toxic relationship. I don't know why people are shipping this. It doesn't make any sense. They don't have any romantic ties. They can't stand each other. The whole time when they're mind melding each other, they're like throwing shots at each other like, you are a monster, go away, blah, blah, blah. That's really how it is the entire time. And you're telling me, oh, they're gonna get together in The Rise of Skywalker? What is wrong with you people? What is wrong with you people?
There's literally a sequence where like their minds are abridged at one point, and then Rey has a line that says, "I'd rather not do this now." Yeah, me too.
She freaking took a blaster and tried to shoot at his head.
At his gut, but close enough.
Whatever. Threatening. Oh yeah, that love chemistry is so good. Oh, I love that. This is what pisses me off about it. At first, I didn't have a problem with this shit, but everyone is just taking this so out of proportion. And you know what? I don't care who agrees with me on this, but this is where I stand. Rey and Finn should have been together. It should have been those two from the beginning.
So who's this Rose bitch?
Yeah, why is Rose cock blocking this? You're literally having Finn go off and do this retarded ass bullshit with Canto Bite. Wow, there could have been more development between Rey and Finn. But literally, Rey is acting like nothing from the previous film happened. There is no concern about Finn, even though he almost died fighting Kylo Ren in the previous movie. There's no acknowledgement with that. And then when Finn wakes up, he doesn't acknowledge the giant scar that's on his back. Like it literally felt like the previous film didn't happen. When Rey and Finn, those were the two that we followed throughout the entire movie in The Force Awakens. Like their chemistry was great. Like you actually felt that they care for each other, that they care about their danger, and they're at the very least they developed the friendship stuff. Kylo and Rey have not developed the friendship stuff. I don't think they're even acquaintances at this point. But it mind boggles me that people ignore the relationship between Finn and Rey when it literally feels like JJ written for them to be together in the next two films, but then they want to put this Kylo and Rey stuff, like 50 Shades of Grey bullshit. It just makes no sense. Regardless of how you feel about Finn as a character, him and Rey actually developed as friends that could have possibly went to something more. They developed something.
No, yeah, I agree with you, and I think that Rose is just not not an interesting character at all. Like, why is she even there?
Like, no. And then, even though I don't like love triangles in movies, this is one of the few love triangles I would have liked if they, took advantage of it. Just like Rose trying to get with Finn, but Finn is still thinking about Rey, and there's like this whole mission of trying to get back to her. And then it would almost make that stupid, thing, that sacrifice that Rose does for Finn towards the end, like, makes sense.
Pointless.
Being like, instead of being that stupid line of we can't win this war by fighting the people we hate but saving the people we love. Why don't there be a little thing of Rey needs you, you can't sacrifice yourself, and then go with it. Like,
yeah, it's a love square, not a love triangle.
Yeah, even when Finn's about to sacrifice himself, Rey doesn't sense that happening, but she senses everything else. Are you freaking kidding me? The freaking hug that Rey and Finn had towards the end was more chemistry than Rose and Finn throughout the entire movie. Like,
or Rey and Kylo.
Yeah. Made no sense. I'm sorry to you Reylo fans, but I cannot get on your level. I cannot understand your logic. Like, you freaking see Kylo get wet in the rain in the Rise of Skywalker trailer, and immediately your pussies are wet and being like, oh yeah, Reylo's happening. Oh, come on guys. Think with your brain. But anyway, that's my rant about Reylo.
Do you feel good now, Dwayne?
I feel good.
Now?
I feel so good.
You got that out?
I got that. I was holding that in for so long.
Yeah, speaking of Rose, let's talk about a certain incident that happened with the Star Wars fandom.
Oh, yeah, so...
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I don't know why, but there's certain people in the fandom, probably most people in the fandom managed that were threatening the actress's life on social media. Why?
Over what?
What's the point of that?
Because you didn't like her character? Are you... This is the Jar Jar Binks?
Some people even went after Rian Johnson because of the decisions that he made in the movie. Like, they wish he died for what he did to The Last Jedi.
Like, come on.
That's legit.
Yeah. Wait, stop that.
Yeah, man, it's a fucking movie.
Stop. It's a movie. Like, this is the Jar Jar Binks thing all over again. Like, even though I don't like the character, I don't wish any harmful stuff on the actors. They're doing their job.
Yeah,
They're
it's not the
doing
Rose
their job.
actress's fault.
Even Ryan Johnson, even though I don't like some of his decisions in this movie, I don't wish anything on him. Like, he's just a human being. Don't be threatening people's lives over a movie.
I especially wish that Ryan Johnson does good with Knives Out that comes out soon.
I've heard good things about that.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing Knives Out.
It's got like almost 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, so I mean...
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I actually am curious to see that. But it's like, yeah, the stuff with I forget the actress name again. Kelly Marie Tran. Like
Kelly Marie Tran.
Yeah, it's like, I'm sorry. I can't get with that. You should not be threatening people on social media because you didn't like her character in the movie. And then, like, her character wasn't so offensive for you to even do that. Like, I don't understand why they're targeting her specifically because, I mean, other than Ryan Johnson, you don't hear this happening with anyone else in the cast. So why are they targeting her for some reason? Like, it's...
Because she's a female and she's Asian in a Star Wars movie or something.
So people are racist too.
So, yeah, people are racist too. I think that's another reason why the Rey and Finn stuff didn't happen.
And also, look at what happened with John Boyega. All the flack he got because black people can't be stormtroopers.
Before Force Awakens came out, people were giving him shit.
Yeah, I'm like, you know, there's black people in this universe, right? you know, there's regular people that are
those uniforms are white. You can't put a black person in it.
Oh, another thing I wanted to bring up real quick about the Reylo stuff. So, there's one thing that nobody notices, nobody talks about, that also pisses me off about this. Can you name a movie where a black guy gets with the white girl as leads in the film? Go ahead, I'll wait.
Are we just saying, like, any movie?
Any movie. What else? What else?
What did you say, Nick?
I didn't say anything.
No,
I thought Evan said so. What did Evan say?
He said Hairspray.
It's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
Okay. Oh, okay, that's one. What else? Now, before you say it, the people are like, there's interracial relationships in movies. No, you're trying to trick me. And no, I'm gonna get you. I'm not talking about black women with white men. I'm talking about black men with white women. That's how they trick us with the interracial stuff. Be like, oh, it's interracial.
I also would have said Get Out, but that kind of doesn't really count either.
No, that doesn't count. I'm talking about where they end up together by the end of the movie. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. That's how they trick us about doing interracial stuff, because they always do the black girl with the white man, but they can't bear to have their precious white princesses go with the black guy. I'm gonna go retarded with this. I'm going retarded.
Wait.
Let me also make this clear. I like all different races. I'm not specifically targeting white girls. I date all races. But I'm talking about, there are black guys that marry and date white women, and there is no representation with that. Why?
You know what? You just gave me an idea to write a movie. Thanks, Dwayne. I'll keep you posted.
Great. I'll help produce it.
I feel like the only reason Rose exists is because there hasn't been an Asian main character in Star Wars. An Asian woman main character. So I feel like it's just like they're just trying to throw in some representation.
Which is fine, because, Donnie Yen was in Rogue One and I liked him, but it's like, it deliberately felt like Rose was written to get in between Finn and Rey.
Yeah, it's just the characters is unnecessary.
So that's what just irritates me about this. So anyway, I'm done talking about Reylo. That's all the stuff I gotta say about that. Like, don't think I'm not paying attention, Disney. I see you. Anyway. Alright,
He's been holding that in for a very long time.
Yes, I have. I've been holding this in for years. I've been holding this in for so long.
It hasn't even been 2 whole years since the movie came out.
I know, right?
Oh man, I was waiting. Y'all can call me fanboys or what. It's like, you're just mad you didn't get what you wanted, you stupid black boy. Shut the fuck up. I can have dreams. I can have dreams.
He just doesn't care anymore.
And then if you don't want to give me what I want, give me something that's well written. You couldn't even do that. So,
Damn.
anyway, let's talk about Snoke. So, as I said, I like Snoke a lot more in this movie. Has more of a presence. He's more charismatic, and I love me some Andy Serkis. I love everything that he's in. But at the same time, there is stuff with his character that I felt was not fulfilling or was not consistent. For one thing, it's shown that he's the one that's creating the mind meld with Kylo and Rey. And while that is an interesting concept for Star Wars, it's something different. That is the biggest plot hole of this entire film. Why do I say this? Because in the previous films, they establish if you're able to mind meld with someone or sense somebody's presence, you would have to know where they are in the galaxy. You would have to know their location, right? So, while Snoke is mind melding Rey, who is on the same planet where the temple is and where Luke is, that should give the indication that Snoke knows where Rey and Luke is. And at that moment, that's where Snoke should have been like, send all the troops, all the Star Destroyers to that planet and blow it to smithereens. Why did Snoke not do that? What was the point of them mind melding only to do this stupid gotcha when they're in the throne room, where you literally could have ended the movie at any goddamn time?
See, if I may interject for a little bit, I'm not here to defend any of this, but I just wanted to point out that I don't think that Snoke exactly knew where Rey was, because when Rey and Kylo had their minds abridged for the first time, Kylo had a line that says, can you see my presence? I can't see yours, just you. So that means, like, he could only see her. And so if he could only see her, Snoke could probably just see her and Kylo as well.
So let's talk a little bit more about what Kylo sees and what Rey sees. So you're telling me that the only thing that they see is them and nothing outside? Like, is it black when... Is it just a black background when they're mind melding?
It's probably just a blank space.
And then what's with sometimes the mind meld can teleport physical matter? Like, why is there raindrops?
I'm still trying to figure that out too.
Yeah, like, there's just so many holes with this. Like, it just didn't make sense to me. And then the whole plan of Snoke was just strange. Where it's just they establish in the previous films that, when Vader and the Imperials are trying to find where the rebels are, like, freaking Vader looks at a radar or whatever, and then he just immediately goes, there, the rebels are there. Like, if he could do that, why can't Snoke just be like, oh, there's Luke, okay, send him over there? I don't know. Probably the way it was directed visually made it seem like they knew about their surroundings, but it's like, if it's not, I don't know. It makes my brain hurt. I'm sorry. And then what makes my brain hurt even more? I'm sorry. No one can defend this. The Snoke's death makes no sense. It doesn't. Now, I don't have a problem with them killing Snoke. If you want to kill him, fine. But on top of us not knowing anything about his character before he dies, the way he dies doesn't make sense. So
It's so cheap.
it's so cheap. So up until that point, when Rey and Kylo are in the throne room and Rey's trying to attack Snoke at any point, like trying to run at him, trying to hit her with a lightsaber, Snoke's like, you ain't doing shit, and just freaking throws everything back at her. She knows every move that she's doing. So this same being that is able to mind meld Kylo and Rey's mind, and this near omnipotent being can toss around Rey whenever she wants to, can read thoughts and feelings effortlessly, but he can't sense a lightsaber turning right next to him to kill him.
This again is feels like a cartoon.
Yeah.
Like a twisted, cartoon move. Like, ooh, I'm gonna get you, and then, oh! Like, oh no, totally didn't see that coming, even though the setup was so obvious.
See, I don't really have much to say about that sequence, only because we might have this bit may have some sort of tie-in with the Rise of Skywalker. I'm just going to say this out loud. Like, the future, the fate of this movie is dependent on how the Rise of Skywalker is. Like, if it doesn't, take much... If the Rise of Skywalker takes aspects from The Last Jedi and explains it fully that makes sense, then, maybe people will start to come to the assumption that, maybe The Last Jedi, is better than people thought, which is probably where the sequence where, Snoke gets killed is probably more of well, maybe this is part of Snoke's plan or whatever to bring the Emperor back to life or something. I don't know. They could do whatever they want.
That's what I was thinking at
I
first.
because that's what JJ said in an interview. What was that?
Yeah, to do whatever he wants, which, even though
yeah,
I love...
he could do whatever he wants with the movie because he said, you know what, fuck it. So, I mean, it's I don't really have much to say about that sequence, only other than it depends on how it plays with the film afterwards.
Right, so that whole theory of, this may be Snoke's plan all along, I was thinking that at first because, in the previous film, he's talking about his time to complete Kylo's training. What if, and I was thinking, what if Snoke's plan throughout the entire film was to provoke Kylo to get angry because, he taunts Kylo in the beginning of the movie being like, you're just a kid in the mask trying to be Vader while you're getting your ass beat by a girl who's never held a lightsaber, and then that made him destroy his helmet. And I'm thinking, is this all part of his plan to make Kylo stronger and then making him want to kill Leia or whatever? And then making
I was kind of thinking that
angry?
same thing too.
I was thinking that too. And then this whole thing of Kylo killing Snoke, I'm thinking, okay, is that also part of his plan? That Snoke will come back more powerful as a force spiritual entity in the next movie? I was thinking, okay, maybe I'll go with this. Until, oh look guys, it's Papa Palpatine in the next movie. What? So I'm like, this literally... The most of the decisions made in this movie is going to rely heavily on what happens in The Rise of Skywalker, because if they don't utilize Snoke at all in The Rise of Skywalker, that makes Snoke's death stupid and pointless.
Well, that's how I felt when I see it, though. I don't think Snoke knew that he was about to die, which is why it's so lame, because he could see everything else coming.
Right. If you're going to kill him, what would have been an awesome, oh shit moment? When Kylo turns the lightsaber around and Snoke's like, I know his every move. He can never betray me. But guess what, Kylo? I can sense you're doing that. And then he freaking fucks up Kylo. And then they have some sort of a force battle between Kylo and Rey and Snoke. You can be creative with that, Ryan. You can do that. But have a freaking, confrontation with Snoke and then... figure out a creative way to kill him then, instead of just being like, oh, I totally don't see the lightsaber turning around next to me. That just makes him look stupid, so because Palpatine in Return of the Jedi, before Luke even lifts his hand up, he's like, oh, you want to take your lightsaber and strike me, don't you? Go ahead, I dare you. how come Palpatine can sense what Luke's gonna do before he even does it, but he can't sense Kylo doing that?
Yeah, that's why it's just bad writing. It's just another example of Ryan trying to subvert expectations that, Snoke's not gonna just be killed out of the blue like that, but then he does end up getting killed, and they're just like building him up as this big villain, and I think one of the major things that pissed fans off, is that he didn't take into consideration any sort of fan theories that people had. There's
none of them.
How
I
cool
disagree
it would
with
have been if Snoke ended up being like Darth Plagueis or something, or we didn't even get into Rey's parents yet. How that was totally just a slap in the face and just tossed to the
I
side.
agree with that strongly, because that's kind of why I think most people got pissed at this movie at first, is because so many people had so many theories about this. But that's the thing. They're theories. Even more, they're fan theories. So they could not even go either way with what they are. It's kind of like, don't assume. We all know what the saying goes. Don't assume, because that's going to make an ass out of you and me. That's kind of like Infinity War. How many leaks and rumors did we hear about Infinity War? Like, oh, this is going to happen in Infinity War. No, this is going to happen. And literally, what happened? We saw it. We didn't know what the hell was happening.
Oh, I understand. People shouldn't assume. The thing that's frustrating is the fact that the fan theories were so awesome and cool, and then what we actually got sucked by comparison. That's the problem.
Yeah. Like with Infinity War, there was I was one of those people too, making a bunch of theories of what would happen in Infinity War, and then it ended up not happening, but what they gave us still felt satisfying and made us want to see more. But in this movie, it just made us feel frustrated, being the fact that there are so many other creative ways they could have written this character. Instead, they chose the cheapest way possible to kill him off because Rian Johnson didn't know what to do with it.
All of Rian Johnson's curveballs were just dissatisfying.
It's literally like, you're probably not going to agree with this, Nick and Ruby, but it's literally like if they set up Thanos up until Guardians of the Galaxy, where he didn't really do much. He was sitting on a chair commanding people or whatever, and then we go into Infinity War, and then he literally dies like a bitch, just like Snoke. Wouldn't you be pissed off? Because they built up Thanos to be the biggest villain in the Avengers universe, only to have him killed off like that because he wasn't aware of his surroundings. Wouldn't that be a disappointment?
Well, there's a difference. This isn't the MCU, this is Star Wars.
But it's the same thing!
It's the same kind of feeling.
I do understand where you're coming from with this. Like, yeah, it would have been a little bit, useless for Thanos to die just like right away in Infinity War, because then what's the point of having Endgame, But like that wouldn't make sense. But I feel like, looking at Snoke's death, it'd be sort of like, I understand where they're coming from, even if they don't kill Snoke, but him actually dying, like, it would work in like both ways. Like whether he did or didn't die, I feel like it just would have worked both ways.
But why was it a good thing for him to die? He was pointless.
Well, that's why we have the Rise of Skywalker again.
No, I'm not talking about we gotta wait till Rise of Skywalker. I'm talking about this movie.
The Rise of Skywalker.
This movie. Why was that a good idea?
Like
why he died the way he did.
Like the only reason I see why they killed him off in this movie is to build up Kylo more as the main villain of this franchise, but it's like...
That's what I think right there, actually. Like, let's be real. It was probably... Snoke is a red herring. He's not... This kind of show, hey, we're not doing what the old series did. We're having some big mustache-twirling villain in a chair. No, really, it's Kylo's story. This is Kylo's moment. This isn't Snoke being like, I'm the real super bad villain. Like, no. That's stupid.
Which is why I don't think I want him to be redeemed in the Rise of Skywalker. If that was the point of doing that, Because then you're going to go backwards on Kylo's development. And then here's Papa Palpatine being the main villain of Rise of Skywalker out of nowhere.
It's like
out of nowhere.
Nowhere. It's just like Ryan Johnson is trolling people. You know, because he's just like teasing you with, oh, Snoke's the villain. Oh, haha, we actually just killed him. Oh, you want to know about Rey's parents because we got this whole sequence of her in the mirrors. Oh, who are they? Who are they? Oh, we're not going to tell you. And then we're going to throw a curveball that, oh, her parents were actually nobodies. He's trolling people.
Now, here's my thing. Let's talk about Rey's parent stuff. Now, I'm actually not as mad about that because I said from the beginning, walking out of Force Awakens, that I don't think that Rey's heritage is something we've seen before in the previous movies. I don't think, like, her being a daughter of Skywalker or daughter of Kenobi or whatever. I think it would have been too predictable and too easy if he was held to that heritage. So I was completely okay with her parents being nobody. But what makes it not work is the fact that Rey is still Mary Sue in this movie. So there has to be an explanation why she's able to do what she does. So for her parents to be nobody, that makes Rey's character almost fall flat because you didn't develop her enough to, explain why she's able to do the stuff she does. There's stuff she does in this movie that Luke and Anakin was not able to do. So it's like, there has to be something. You can't be just, oh, the parents are nobody. Now, if it's true that she has some ties with Palpatine, I'll accept that because she still has some dark side tendencies here and there. But to say that there's nothing with her lineage that makes her powerful, she's just born that way, that's a slap in the face to the legacy of the Jedi. Because you can't just go around doing this without any training. Regardless of how powerful you are, you need training.
Yeah, my problem is why raise the question in the first place if you're not going to go anywhere with it? That was like a big thing in The Force Awakens is she wants to know who her parents are. She wants her parents back. She's waiting for them. And then it's just, I'm not saying her parents have to be Kenobi or Skywalker or anything. They don't have to be a character that we know. But, there has to be some sort of relevance with it. But there's not any.
You guys have any thoughts about the Rey's parents being nobodies, or just pretty much the same?
I mean, I personally just don't really think it's that much of an importance to me. To be honest, like, I've heard it, like, so many, like, I'm kind of on the fence with Dwayne saying that, it'd be way too predictable if she was, if she's in the same lineage as a character that we already have met before, like maybe Han Solo or Luke Skywalker or Obi-Wan Kenobi somehow. But, and yeah, her being tied to Palpatine would actually kind of make sense to me a little bit too, because, she does have some dark side tendencies here and there, and they've been teasing a little bit, we want you to come to the dark side or something. Like, they've teased that a couple times in The Last Jedi, and even in The Force Awakens, and then we get the shot in the D23 trailer for The Rise of Skywalker that she's in a cloak with her lightsaber, her army knife lightsaber, and that's just an assumption that she might be dark side, but again, that might just be a dream sequence, which is kind of what I'm leaning towards a little bit more. But
or she's wearing a disguise,
or she's a clone.
That would piss me off if she was a clone.
I mean,
so stupid. We are way past the clone age.
The multiple Reys in this movie, I mean, she's a clone. I mean, I don't know.
I don't like that theory at all.
Yeah, it's like it shouldn't be called Rise of Skywalker. It should be called Revenge of the Clones. But no, I hope. I mean, because they did say that the questions about Rey is going to be answered in Rise of Skywalker. So I hope. But I'm telling you right now, if they're thinking about making Rey a Skywalker, I will not like that at all. I will not like that.
I'm gonna get bored of that twist.
It's called The Rise of Skywalker. She hasn't earned it. She has not earned it. I'm sorry. As much as I like Rey, she has not earned being called a Skywalker.
Right.
But let's talk about a little bit of positives. Let's try to lighten up the conversation. Let's talk about the Praetorian Guard fight scene. I actually really like that fight scene.
Oh yeah,
One of the best
like
fight
the best
scenes
part of
in the
movie.
entire saga.
Yeah, and I liked it. Another creative way to do a lightsaber fight, because we've seen lightsaber versus lightsaber, Jedi versus Jedi, but it's actually something different. It's like a dark side user and a light side user working together against guards. That's creative. That's something we haven't seen in the Star Wars film before.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. That's my favorite part of the movie.
And it's not just that; it's just the way that it's visually shot. It's just that's the definitive way to shoot fight scenes, period.
Yeah, definitely. Like
That's the way you do it, JJ.
JJ did it good in The Force Awakens. Stop
Yeah,
hating.
he was
Ryan
great.
Johnson did it better, though.
I'll give a little bit of an edge with Ryan, because the way he shot it was a little bit more. I mean, it's more visually appealing, I guess. Like
It feels more like just the shots, like overall in this film, just feel more smooth than in The Force Awakens, where everything was just like automatic zoom-ins that JJ loves so much, which isn't bad. It's just like I would like to see a smooth shot of that, Like, I'm not saying that it doesn't look cool, but I just think that Ryan Johnson's way of shooting is just personally to me better and more smooth than JJ's.
Though I think the way JJ handled the lightsaber fight and the way Ryan handled his lightsaber fight, I think is made for two different situations. Like, I think with JJ's in the Forest, I think he wanted to be more gritty and intimate, and so he wanted to use more of the the zoom close-in shots to make it feel more intense and intimate, while the guard scene in the throne room is supposed to be more chaotic, and it's like more than one thing is happening at the same time, so she wanted you to see everything that's happening. So I think it works for two different situations, but either way, I think the guard scene was really good. If I can nitpick some stuff, because I study choreographs fights with stuff, there's some clunky.
Do you actually?
I do, because I really like how people direct action sequences, so I study how they do choreography and how they move the camera and stuff like that. This is why I hate shaky cam in action sequences. I think they're horrible, except certain stuff they use it artistically, but some people do that because they don't know how to shoot an action sequence. But it's like
Or quick cuts.
Or quick cuts. That pisses me off. That really does.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
But there is
MCU does it well. MCU knows that struggle all too well.
Right.
Four shots just for one punch.
I'm like, really, guys? Come on. But there's a shot where Rey is kicking one of the guards, and three of them fall back, which that didn't make any sense. And then there's this one guard with a little knife staff thing that he splits apart into two daggers, and then he's clunkily swinging them around like they're katana swords. Like, I'm sorry, dude, those are daggers, not swords. Like, look at my little daggers, nigga, look at this, look at that shit. It's like, no, dude, don't do that. And then there's an editing mistake, actually. Nobody realized there's an editing mistake where the guy with the daggers, he has two of them in both of his hands. But then there is a shot where he's holding on to Rey, and one of them is not there in his hand. So that's my own continuity error. But other than that, yeah, it was really
I'll have
good.
to look at that again, because I know that I believed it at one point, but I just haven't really re-looked at it recently, so I'm just like, okay, I kind of don't see that, but I'm still trying to find that pivotal moment. I'm just looking for it.
It's right before Rey drops the lightsaber and catches it in midair, and then slices.
Oh, I know where you're talking about. I know what shot it is. It's just like I'm trying to find out where that continuity error is. It's just like I don't know how you see that.
I spend too much time doing shit. But anyway, those are nitpicks. I know there's videos online talking about, this fight scene is clunkily choreographed, blah 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 blah. I'm like,
No, it's not.
come on, guys. Rey is so sloppy, blah blah blah. Yeah, Rey's supposed to be sloppy. She doesn't know how to fight. And I like the details that, she was struggling with one guard while Kylo was killing more than one on the other side of the room. So I'm like, okay, that actually makes sense. It would be stupid if Rey was just cutting down guards left and right. So it's like, I like the little details there. So I think it's cool. So other than that,
Oh my gosh, that awesome shot where Kylo just like double presses the lightsaber.
oh yeah,
Holy shit.
oh yeah, he goes
That
through the
was
guy's head.
so cool.
That was really cool. I love that. Okay, and then
Never mind. I just saw it. Yeah, I saw it. Never mind.
yeah.
I thought originally he was holding like one dagger, but he was holding two. And then when he got Rey locked in that position, I was just like, okay, yeah, never mind.
Yeah.
What about the rebel stuff? Because there's that really cool Holdo thing at the end. That's another like awesome thing.
Oh yeah. Once again, this is really cool, but once again, shatters the physics of Star Wars. So, Holdo, to sacrificing yourself for the rebels to escape, takes one of the big ships and light speeds the ship through the Star Destroyers. Like, you remember in the theater movie, like, I didn't know what she was about to do. She literally turns the ship around in front of them, and I was like, they're not about to do what I think they're about to do, right? And then
The moment I figured it out, it was the moment where somebody said something about like she's running away, and then Poe has a line that says, "No, she isn't." And then I immediately thought, "Oh,
wait,
oh."
wait a minute. And then when she light speeds through the ships, it's silence, and you just see light blurs on the ship. That was, my jaw dropped to the floor.
It was
That
probably the most gorgeous visual of the whole movie.
Oh, that was incredible.
That was amazing. And it's like, it was so nice that when she impacted with the ship, there was no sound. It was like, no sound.
That was nice too, yeah.
And then you hear the pew! I'm like, oh my gosh.
My heart dropped
That was
when I heard
amazing.
that.
That was,
Oh shit.
holy shit. So yeah, man, that was really cool. But is that how lightspeed works? And then if you were able to do this the entire time, why couldn't they do it in the previous films?
Well, because they would have sacrificed themselves like immensely. Because when you go through light speed like that, you probably could have died.
True. So why couldn't they get droids to pilot the ship and zoom towards the ships?
It does raise the question that why didn't
the
someone
droids
light
are-
speed through the Death Star?
The droids belong to the Trade Federation. You know that.
I guess.
But why didn't someone light speed through the Death Star? That's the only thing.
Yeah, light speed through the
That's-
Death
I don't-
Star.
I don't think that you could.
You literally
to
could
be
get the
honest.
R2 units to pilot the ship, the X-wings, and freaking zip through the freaking Death
Yeah.
Star.
Yeah, so I'm sort of
Because there
mixed
could
on
have
it
been
because
a safer way to do it instead
it
of
was-
just like blatantly killing yourselves just to put a dent in a planet-sized weapon.
But I'm saying, like, because the people don't have to be in the X-wing for it to be piloted. The droids pilot the ships. That they also established in the prequels, that the droids can just pilot the ships whenever they want. So with the people not in it, zip through.
That would have been a waste of droids.
But you would have destroyed the Death Star like that. It wouldn't have just put a dent in it. You're going faster than the speed of light. It doesn't matter if it's just a little ship. It will cut through the Death Star when you're going at that speed. It doesn't fucking matter.
And I'm sorry, I'll take some droid deaths over planets being destroyed.
I don't know.
So it sort of breaks the universe a little bit. It sort of breaks the world of Star Wars. Because you do ask why hasn't that ever been done before, but at the same time,
I mean, if
it was
we're
so
going by that
amazing,
logic-
and it took me off guard that I wasn't expecting it. That I still love it anyways. That's like probably the only thing that Rian Johnson did that was like a surprise that I thought actually paid off in a positive way.
Go ahead, Nick.
Now, I was gonna say, if we're going by that logic, wouldn't every movie that takes place in the Star Wars movie breaks the canon, the known canon of the movie? Because they probably could have done that, but they didn't. But I don't know. I feel that's overanalyzed, and that's over egging your pudding right there.
I guess, but I just can't help but overanalyze this stuff because...
I beg to differ.
Huh?
I beg to differ. You can't.
Yeah, I just said I can't help but think about this stuff, It's like there's so many things. And then, we didn't talk about this, but this is not as bad as the lightspeed thing, but those bombers in the beginning, I don't know how those bombs are able to fall in where space there's no gravity. Like, why is it falling? There's a little, like, this is not as bad, but like literally you could have just fixed that if you just had electromagnetic like fields under it to make them go a certain way. But if you're just having them drop in the middle of space where there is no gravity, they should not all be falling
Or
like
it's have to be rocket based or something.
something like torpedoes, like those blue torpedoes that they use. Have some sort of technology with that. They're just balls falling in space that shouldn't be happening.
Well, then again, I've said this to you before, Dwayne, when we saw that sequence. It's probably when they were dropping it onto the Dreadnought. The Dreadnought is massive, and it probably could have had like enough, potential to have its own like gravity force to where the bombs were able to fall directly onto it, because the bomber ship was close enough, like in distance, like above it.
Yeah, I guess. It's just details. Like if it's gonna float really close to the ship for it to impact, show that's just floating a little bit. Don't just have them fall like they're bowling balls falling from the ceiling. But anyway, that's nitpicking stuff. I know. That's just nothing I brought up. Let's talk about.
It's just last thing I want to point out. It's just like how fast they like shoot them out of the ship, out of the bomber ship. They probably could have went at like an immense speed.
Right. Okay, let's talk about Yoda.
Jesus, I forgot he was in the movie. Jesus.
I like.
Oh yeah, Yoda was great.
Yeah, Yoda was great.
That's a fantastic scene.
Yeah, I don't know why people were hating on that scene. I mean, I get the whole Yoda lightning striking the tree, like, it's kind of strange, but, like, still, I just love that entire scene of Yoda and Luke, and I love the thing that he tells Luke about the greatest teachers is failures, which kind of helps bring things around with Luke, Luke's decisions in this movie, being like he has to learn from his mistakes and whatever, so I actually love that a lot.
I don't really
Also,
like that Yoda...
I have to ask, who here is against Puppet Yoda?
I'm not against it.
No.
For this film, because there were people that did not like Puppet Yoda.
My favorite Yoda is the CGI that they used in 2 and 3. I would probably say that the Puppet Yoda in like 5 and 6 would probably be my second favorite. I guess. I don't know. I'm definitely not a fan of the Puppet Yoda they used in Episode 1.
Yeah, that was horrible.
No, I'm talking about like for Episode 8. Did the Puppet Yoda like make sense to anybody?
Oh yeah, it was fine.
Yeah, it was fine.
I personally prefer the CGI from Episode 2 and 3, but this one was still good.
Yeah. Now,
okay, because that's why like some people were like on the fence for like, oh, why didn't they just use CGI in 2 and 3? Why didn't they do that for Episode 8?
I guess
I'm not saying that. I thought Puppet Yoda made perfect sense.
Definitely, I think that's from those prequel purists, the little that are out there that are used to the CGI stuff. But I think with certain people outside of that, they're saying that the motion of him as a puppet looked kind of weird, like there were CGI enhancements on it, and I could kind of see that because he wasn't fully moving like a puppet in certain moments, but it still looked fine to me. And then he's a little bit more physically there than how he was in the original trilogy. But yeah, like I said, I'm with Cap. Like I do prefer the CGI Yoda in 2 and 3, but I still do like the puppet Yoda, and it's like continuing off of the original trilogy puppet stuff. So I'm fine with it.
Yeah, so at least it's consistent that way. That you go right from puppet to puppet. It's not like switching back and forth on you.
Right. And then we find out later that they don't actually destroy the text in the tree. So I was like, why did Yoda do that?
What do you mean he didn't destroy it?
At the end of the movie, the texts are in the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, they're in the Millennium Falcon, but Luke and Yoda probably don't know that. Or maybe they do. Maybe Yoda does, but Luke probably doesn't.
I don't
Rey
even
took them,
remember
I
that.
think.
I was just about to say I was upset that he destroyed the temple because I thought that was insensitive of him.
That's what I thought at first, and then when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, thank God. But
I thought it was funny when he said page turners,
have
they
you,
are not.
Have you read them? Page turners, they are not.
That's fucking hilarious.
That was great. But yeah, I love that whole scene. My nitpicks about that too. One, they just the rules with the Force ghosts. When do they interfere and when do they not interfere? Like I'm fine if Yoda can strike lightning as a Force ghost, fine. But is there any established rules of what Force ghosts do and do not do? Like, isn't that interfering with the real world? Like.
Yeah, they've never really accurately established that.
Like, how do you not interfere with other stuff that's more important, but then with this, you're like, yeah, I can do whatever I want. Like I don't know.
Yoda.
Because it's Yoda. That's literally what it is, because it's Yoda.
That's probably what I would probably say too. It's just because he's Yoda. He knows better. He knows more than any other Jedi in existence.
And then 2, where's Ben and where's Anakin?
Yeah, I want you and McGregor.
Anakin was
Obi-Wan
probably
Force
more
Ghost.
of a Force Ghost for Ben, and I would assume they probably didn't bring back Obi-Wan because of maybe they wanted. If they did bring back Obi-Wan, it would have been older Obi-Wan for when he died in Episode 4 and how he appeared in Empire and Return of the Jedi. But the actor isn't alive anymore.
I don't think anyone will complain if they use Ewan McGregor.
Yeah, like most people liked Ian McGregor. Even the people who don't like the prequels say that Ian McGregor was really good.
I prefer him over Alec Guinness. Sorry.
Actually,
not for the time point in the movie. I feel like it would have been better if it was Ben Kenobi. I feel like at least
Seth, if we're going by that, why was Anakin young Anakin and not old Anakin?
Because
those damn
special editions, which I still love. At the end,
that's canon. That is canon.
That is
now.
canon.
We can't deny that's canon. So maybe it could have been you and.
Like why? But I'm saying, why couldn't they de-age? Why couldn't they? I mean, not de-age. Like, why couldn't they age Ewan McGregor and make him look like Ben?
Yeah, they probably could. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I
don't know.
I just wanted it because,
like, talk to Ben too much that he needs more knowledge from Yoda about this Jedi stuff.
Which is fine, though. It's just I felt like their presence should have been here if they're trying to bring, bring Luke out of his funk, especially his father of all people who have made similar mistakes in the past. Like, why couldn't his presence be there too? And then I wanted Anakin to have a presence with Kylo to try to talk him out of it. Once again, I'm not expecting it to succeed, but at least Anakin tried to talk some sense out of his grandson, being like, don't make the same mistakes I did. And then Kylo could be like, fuck you, I will be better than what you ever were, blah blah blah. That would have been cool. Wouldn't it have been cool? I would have loved that. I guess it's just me? Okay.
I don't know. I'm just kind of like, yeah, I mean, it makes sense, but it's not like a huge, like, issue for me. It's not like something for me to brag about.
But fine. You know? But even then, I'll let it slide. But I feel like he has to be in The Rise of Skywalker. He has to be. It
was said that he'll probably be in The Rise of Skywalker, which if he isn't, then I'll probably be a little bit pissed.
Yeah, I'll be really disappointed if he's not in it. Some way, somehow. But anyway, let's talk about that final act with Luke and Kylo.
Is it just me, or is it sort of disappointing that he was only I don't even know what you want to call it.
He's a force projection.
Force projection, yeah. I would have preferred if he had actually gotten his ass off the island. and gone there.
I think a lot of people would have liked it, but even then, I'm okay with that. Once again, another interesting idea that's good on paper, but the execution was not there. I'm okay with him being a force projection because I think that's a good way of subverting the audience. Like, what I wanted personally before he even does that is if he lifted the X-Wing out of the ocean, at least have that fan service there for them. He doesn't even have to go on the X-Wing. Like, he could go on the X-Wing and be like, oh, this thing ain't working no more. What am I going to do?
yeah, do that. That would be funny.
Exactly. And then...
It's broken.
Yeah, it's broken. So that would have been cool. That's fine. He don't got to do it. But and then when he comes later on the movie, we'll be like, wait, how the fuck did you get over here? You said the X-Wing was broken. And then you have that whole thing with Kylo or whatever. But my issue with it is... Once again, you could say, oh, I'm just being a fanboy, you didn't get what you want. But here's the thing. Wouldn't it have been cool to actually see Luke and Kylo duel? Like, wouldn't that have been awesome? That would have been a nice, even cooler send-off than what we gotten. And I know people are saying, well, it can't be possible because he's a force projection. Okay, then answer me this. How come when Luke talks to Leia, it's also one of my favorite scenes in the movie when they talk before he goes to confront Kylo. That's one of my favorite moments when they talk and like, I know my son is gone. No one's ever really gone. I love that whole scene. But anyway, so Leia can feel Luke kiss her on the forehead and give her Han's dice. So if you can physically make contact like that, why couldn't she do that with the duel? Like, be like, oh, make us feel like, oh, he's actually there, and he's like having a lightsaber duel with Kylo. He doesn't even have to like go all out. He can defend himself with the lightsaber. And then like there could be a cool moment like where he almost strikes Kylo, but then he's like the lightsaber's like at an inch of his face, being like, I almost struck you down. Like, you need to chill. But like cool stuff like that, just to show how cool of a master he is. And I'm sure people were talking about, what if he uses his force powers to crush one of the AT-RTs or something? Like, even though that would have been huge fan service, you can't deny that would have got a big cheer in the at the theater. Like, I'm just thinking of cool stuff like that. And then it's like, when he reveals he's a force projection, that would have been a bit like, what? He's not actually there. And then we see him like levitating in the island. That would have been cool. And then where's his green lightsaber? Where's his green lightsaber, man? Like, I know what Ryan was trying to do with that. That he was trying to be like, he rejected the lightsaber throughout the entire film. And this is this way of saying that he accepts his father's lineage or whatever, and accepts the path of him being a Jedi again, with him having the blue lightsaber, which I get. Poetic stuff, that's fine. But here's the thing. I feel like we were overusing the lightsaber at that point, because Rey and Kylo destroyed the lightsaber earlier on. Like, that should have been the last time we saw that blue lightsaber. The journey for that lightsaber is done until the Rise of Skywalker. So we didn't need to see it anymore. I think we should have got Luke's green lightsaber again. Because, first of all, Kylo should have been like, wait a minute. How'd you have that blue lightsaber? I destroyed it. Like, why did that not go off in his head? I don't know.
That went off in my head.
He's blinded by Rey.
I guess, but it's like that lightsaber also is very important to Kylo as well, because that's what happened in Force Awakens. Be like, that lightsaber, it belongs to me. So it's like he should be aware of that. Now I think it was a cool misdirection that Luke doesn't create footprints on the ground, but Kylo does. Like, that's something I didn't pay attention to, but like I was immediately, like Cap, I was like, wait, why does he have the blue lightsaber? He should have the green one. Like, that would help with subverting the expectations. And plus, that's Luke's lightsaber.
I like the green one.
The green one is awesome. Like, if any lightsaber needed to be redeemed, it's that one. Because that was the one that almost killed his nephew.
Yeah.
Like,
redeem that saber.
Redeem the saber. Like, you're overusing the blue lightsaber at this point. I like the blue lightsaber, but the journey for that lightsaber was done after it got destroyed from Rey and Kylo.
I completely forgot they destroyed it. How did they do that?
They were force pulling on the lightsaber, like they're trying to pull it to each other, and they created this like huge magnetic field or whatever, and they were pulling so hard with the force that it just broke apart. So I'm like, That should have been the last image that they gave to the audience. Be like, did they really destroy that lightsaber? And then make us sit on it until the Rise of Skywalker when she repairs it. Come on, guys.
I completely agree. Yeah.
Simple dynamics. Simple. But anyway, I was fine with the projection thing. I was okay with it. But then he dies.
How?
I think it makes sense.
Because
Oh my god, I can hear myself.
It doesn't make any sense.
Because the Force was too strong.
That is some bullshit.
Like it was so powerful for him to create a projection that much that it weakened him and he faded away.
He just gave himself to the Force.
Just like that. This is a similar problem we had with A New Hope, with him just dying and disappearing for no reason with Ben. It's the same thing with this. Why? 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 And then you messing with my emotions too, because right before he fades away, he looks at the twin suns like he did in New Hope, and that was an amazing image, and I almost choked up, and then disappeared, and I was like, wait, what the fuck? What the fuck? What? No, but why? Why? You remember?
Because he essentially starts his adventure looking at the twin suns, and then his adventure starts to come to a close looking at those twin suns again.
Oh gosh.
It's almost like coming in full circle for the character. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what he meant to do. It just wasn't satisfying.
It wasn't. Like, I'm okay with him dying, but I felt like it was too soon. It was too soon. Like, there was so much more he could have done. Like I said, I wish Leia and Luke swapped places. I don't know. It's just a roller coaster with this, man. Because it gives me stuff that I love and gives me stuff that I don't at the same time within seconds of each other. Just like, oh, you like this? Too bad. Oh, you like this? Oh, guess what is this? Like,
that's why I just feel like Rian Johnson's trolling people, because he just keeps playing with your emotions.
yeah, and it's like, it's cool to play with my emotions, but you're doing it so much that the movie is starting to lose its identity in certain moments, and it's forgetting what its main goal is. Like, I don't even know what the goal is with this entire trilogy. Like, what is the end goal? Regardless of what you think about the prequels, there was an end goal. There was a plan. It doesn't feel like there's a plan with the sequel trilogy, and they semi-confirmed that behind the scenes, that there was no plan, that JJ was just planning to do the first Force Awakens and he wasn't planning on coming back, but he made an outline for what 2 and 3 could have been. But then Rian Johnson took the plans for 2 and like, nah, I'm doing my own
And you
thing.
can tell there's no focus because, like we already said, you go on tangents that don't lead anywhere. You got pointless characters that don't add anything. Characters are wasted and killed before their time. And the movie amounts to nothing. What did we accomplish in this 2.5 hour movie? They were literally just running away from the First Order for 2.5 hours. That's it.
And then Rey's trying to get Luke out of his depression for most of the movie.
Like, nothing happened. In the grand scheme of things, nothing happened.
Now, I hope Rise of Skywalker somewhat makes the decisions in Last Jedi seem more understandable, but I don't think it's going to fix everything. I don't feel like it is. Like, there's already so much that the Rise of Skywalker needs to do outside of the stuff with the Last Jedi. Like, it needs to be a good conclusion for the sequel trilogy, and then it has to be a good culmination of all 9 films. There is so much, and then Rey's stuff, and then Kylo's ending, and Luke redemption, Leia. What are they gonna do with Leia? Like, there's so much stuff,
and then you're reintroducing Lando on top of that,
and Palpatine. So, like, I don't know how Rise of Skywalker's gonna do. I hope it's at least good, but it's just whether you love this movie or you hate this movie, it split the fandom, man, to a point of probably of no return. Like, the prequels didn't even do this much damage as, like, it just leaves things in distraught. Like, I never want to walk out thinking this way. I want to walk out of Last Jedi possibly saying this is the best Star Wars film I've ever seen, better than Empire. I want to say that so bad. It breaks my heart to say I don't think this movie's very good.
It's not enjoyable.
Like, it
Overall.
has some great moments. It has some interesting character development and dynamics, but it's not coherent. All this stuff works together separately, but together it just is a mess. So, I don't know. We need to close this out soon. So, are there any other things you guys want to bring up before we close this out?
Just my ratings, I feel like.
Okay.
Do you guys disagree with what we were saying? Do you guys think that this isn't a mess? Like honestly, like, tell us that we're wrong, because I really don't see how this isn't
honestly,
anything but a mess.
I see this movie as, like, it's not a mess, but, like, it's not perfect either. Like, I can see where the film falls apart a bit. Like, the subplot with Holdo isn't very cohesive, and, like, the stuff on Crate, I feel like, was more of a drag of the film, even more than Canto Bite, I feel like. But just regardless of that, I think where the film mainly falls apart is based on, good ideas on paper. It's just poor execution in some places. Like in Leia's force pull back onto the ship, that was poor execution, but a great idea on paper. Luke as a projection, I personally thought that was an okay sequence, and I didn't really find that many faults to it. But, a lot of people thought that it was just a missed, there was a little bit of a error with that, which, I can understand why, but it's at the same time, like, I enjoy that. So that's just where I come from. It's mainly just, like, the movie, like, as a whole is really good on paper. Like, it's the best Star Wars film on paper, but execution sort of wasn't there.
Right.
But for me, I still enjoy the film for what it is, and I've accepted it for, I've accepted, like, what I was given overall.
Right. So that's kind of how I am, even though we're on different sides of the spectrum. Like, I do appreciate moments in here more. Like, I'm not going to disown this film. I accepted it happened, but it's just he had everything there to make it great, which is why part of me is still, I know a lot of people are shocked for me to say this, but I'm still a bit interested to see Rian Johnson's trilogy if it still happens, because he can play in the Star Wars stuff where he doesn't have to worry about legacy characters or how they're sent off or how they're passing the torch to the new generation. They don't have to worry about big stakes like that. He can play around in the Star Wars universe that doesn't focus on the characters we've already established.
Create his own new stories. I feel like, he would be a lot more successful if he was given that from the get-go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't, like, count out Rian Johnson. Like, yeah, he didn't make the film that you wanted him to make. But, now since, if he's given a new trilogy, he can actually do what he wants. He doesn't have to follow a storyline that's been going on for around 40 years now.
So, like I said, I don't think Rian was a bad idea to direct Last Jedi. Like, on paper, I think he could have made. I know you guys think it's good, but it's like, I think he could have made a movie that most people would have loved if they gave him instructions and directions to do. And I know that's not a field that Rian likes to play in. He likes to play with his own toys and do whatever he wants. So it's like, I don't know. It's a double-edged sword. I don't know. So,
but, like, even for a film that only he wanted to invest in, and, like, even for, like, without him wanting any like guidance from like anyone else, I still feel like he pulled this movie off pretty well. Because I feel like the biggest plus for me is, and this is probably what'll make me give my main reason as to why I love The Last Jedi, is that it is not a carbon copy of Empire. I went into this film fearing that this film was going to be a carbon copy of Empire, because The Force Awakens was essentially almost a carbon copy of A New Hope. So my fear was that The Last Jedi was going to continue that off of The Empire Strikes Back, but they didn't. You know, it was its own solid story, and it doesn't it renders stuff from like other films, but it doesn't like solidify that it's like completely similar to one film. You know, it's essentially its own movie,
which is what I wanted to. Even though I didn't mind the stuff with Force Awakens being like A New Hope, like I didn't want this to be exactly like Empire either. So I'm actually, that's one of the things I'm glad about with this movie, that it went in a different direction. But it's just the execution. It all comes back to execution. So, anything to add, Nick?
Nope.
All right.
Nope.
Well, let's go to grades then and close it out. So, overall,
let's piss off more people.
I think this movie is it's meh. It's okay. I don't think this is horrible. I don't think this is great either. I'm struggling to say this is good. And I wanted this to be great. I was ready for this to be great. I was there opening weekend. I wanted this to be the best Star Wars film ever, and maybe my expectations were too big on this movie, but I couldn't help it because Force Awakens set such a great, start of things that I wanted to see and a bunch of questions that I wanted to know about. But this movie felt like it almost felt like a parody of Star Wars in moments. The questions that I wanted to know from The Force Awakens, I felt deliberately rejected with those questions. The performances and the dialogue borderlined on prequel quality in moments. The direction with characters are not consistent with the previous films to me, even though the performances for them were really solid for the most part. But outside of that, there is some really good cinematography. There's some really good action sequences, and I can feel Ryan does have some sort of a pulse on the Star Wars mythos. I don't think he's completely clueless about the lore, but I just think he needed better direction with this film. So overall, I'm going to have to give Star Wars The Last Jedi. I've been struggling with this grade too. I've been going back and forth. I'm gonna go with the.
How much are you gonna hurt me, Dwayne?
Yeah, like how much am I gonna hurt?
It's okay. Go with whatever grade you feel like.
Okay.
What does your heart say to you? Just here, let me help you. Let me help you. Breathe. Just breathe.
Okay. You know what? I'm gonna give it a C plus. I'm gonna give it a C plus. It's slightly better. I won't say better. It's slightly more entertaining than Rogue One, because I care about the characters more in Last Jedi than I do Rogue One, and it got more of a response out of me than Rogue One. But at the same time, I feel Rogue One, while it's not a great movie, it didn't tarnish anything that came before. Like, it was its own thing, and it doesn't harm anything. But yeah, it's a C plus. It's in the middle. It's not awful, but it's not that good either. So, in the middle. All right, Nick.
Hey, why do I have to go?
Why not?
He gets an A.
An A?
An A.
Interesting.
Well, let's go, boy.
I still, after all this, I still enjoy it. That's literally my credentials for a movie. If I enjoy it, I'm gonna like it. I don't Yo, I'm not the super big Star Wars fan. That is definitely Ruby's expertise right there. But if I enjoy it, I enjoy it. The only thing that keeps it from being an A+ is Canto Bite. So it still gets a solid A from me. I definitely would still watch it anytime.
Alright, Ruby.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of in the same boat too, where it's just like, yeah, overall, I still love this movie and I've accepted it for what it is. And for me, it wasn't really that hard for me to get me hooked and interested on this movie. Like, I love watching this film like every time I see it. Now, does it have issues? Yes. Is it a perfect Star Wars movie? No. But it introduces new elements to the saga while telling us that we're getting closer to the end of this epic saga that ran for 42 years. So it's kind of time to start wrapping things up a little bit. And honestly, depending on how The Rise of Skywalker plays off of this film, my rating on this film might go up or down. It may, however The Rise of Skywalker plays off this film, it may change my rating for this film. Now, it's okay if you hate this movie. I have no problem with you hating it. Like, you have your reasons and I have mine. But to me, this movie worked on so many levels for me. So I will proudly give Star Wars The Last Jedi a 91%.
Alright, Cap.
Okay. Well, I'm at the other end of the spectrum. For me, this movie was just a massive disappointment. And it's just, I hate saying it, but this movie just did not deliver on pretty much any, in any category. I mean, there were a few great moments, a few good ideas, but overall, this movie is just bad mistake after bad mistake. There are just too many bad ideas, bad executions in here that hurt not only the movie, but the franchise as a whole. And to me, that is inexcusable, and it's just not a good movie because of that. I really think Rian Johnson should have had someone else there to consult him, because he wrote the movie all by himself without any other writer.
Yeah.
And I think that was probably one of the biggest mistakes. So, because of all of the issues that it has with it, I have to give it a D-.
Jeez.
Which is the lowest grade I've given for any Star Wars movie. And I don't like doing that, but this movie just... It just hurts. It has way too many problems.
At least it's not an E.
Yeah, I gave it a D- over an E because of the amazing visuals, and there were, a few great sequences in there. So that's what's keeping it up from being a complete failure. But overall, this is not a good movie for me.
I bet you if Crimson was here, she'd probably give it an F.
She wouldn't even give it a grade.
She wouldn't give it a grade. It failed the class. But, well, that is our thoughts on Star Wars The Last Jedi.
We are all on the same level.
Oh yeah, we're all on the same page.
We all agree with everything we said.
Everyone together in harmony, and we're holding hands. But, what did you guys think about The Last Jedi? Let's have a conversation in the comments. Let's have a civil conversation in the comments, but yeah, tell us how you...
Without wishing anybody died.
Yeah, because we don't wish that on anyone else. I don't wish that on Ruby for liking it. I don't wish that on the actors who did this. I don't wish this on Rian Johnson. But yeah, just comment below what you think about The Last Jedi. Did you guys love it? Did you guys hate it? Did you guys think it was okay? Let us know. Oh, well, we finally got to The Last Jedi.
Rise of Skywalker.
Yep. The next film we will be talking about, the final installment of the Skywalker saga. The next one we'll be talking about is Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker.
I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I hope it's good. I hope it's a good good ending to the franchise. I don't expect it to be better than Return of the Jedi, but just at least be good.
Throw away all of your expectations about the movie, if you have any.
Yeah, at this point, yeah.
Assume nothing.
Right. So if you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel to update on future videos I'll be doing if you guys enjoy. But that's all from us, and we will see you guys in the next one. May the Force be with you. Bye-bye.
Alright, have a good one, guys.